All right. Hello and welcome, everybody. This is, well, what should we, this is out of Africa, right? We're not
Right, it's
doing,
out of
it
Africa.
is kind of an evidence the evolution show thing, but this is a special little sub series we're going to be doing with a new friend of the channel, Damien Marie AtHope. He is so knowledgeable. I'm so impressed. You know what? It kind of reminds me of Damien. It
What's that?
reminds me of you familiar with Bruce Lee, I assume.
Yeah.
Uh, he said once that he didn't fear somebody who practiced 10,000 kicks as much as he feared somebody who practiced one kick 10,000 times. And I think you have definitely practiced the heck out of this kick. Holy crap. You've really done your homework. But I met Damien through Facebook and through Arn Ra, and I just found out he was just a treasure trove of knowledge. So I wanted to give him an opportunity to come up and share it with us, so we can all learn a little bit about this complex but fascinating, super powerful model, the out of Africa model. And so, with that, Damien, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and take it away?
Sure. Hi, I'm Damien AtHope, and I am in a sense, autodidact polymath, meaning that I taught myself most of the stuff that I know, starting in 2006 until now. And at the beginning, all I wanted to do was figure out if God and stuff, was not real, what else was in a sense real or not real? Because I had become an atheist in college from doing psychology and sociology, which I have a BA in.
Yeah.
And I ended up dropping out, some because of life's financial things. I had to work, couldn't really do work and school at the same time. Because they said that all my teachers go, you need to get a doctorate. You're like freaking brilliant.
Yeah.
And my critical thinking class, I think it was either the first or second day, I challenged the teacher and proved him it wrong, something he had been teaching for 15 years. And he goes, dude, you have got to get your doctorate.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, I never got my doctorate because of, like I said, financial things, good capitalism, making
Yeah.
brilliant
Tell
people
me
have
about
to
it.
survive. But the other thing was also, once I became an atheist, I lost the desire to just help one person.
Yeah.
I just, all of a sudden, I realized, okay, wait a minute, counseling one person as a mental illness, I now see religion almost as a mental illness over the whole world. And so I felt like the need was just too great. In fact, I first tried to go into sociology because I felt psychology is just not enough activism for me
Yeah.
personally. And so I started going sociology and also financial stuff. But I also, like I said, just my desire was changing because at the same time that I was in school, right when I became an atheist in 2006, I started to look for new stuff, because they have like a big database, you can look
Yeah.
through while you're in school, right, for free. And
Hello, Pragmatic Crystal. We've got Pragmatic Crystal in the chat.
right
One of the
on.
greats in the atheist community here. Sorry if I interrupt you at any point. I don't really have my keyboard set up, so if I'm going to respond to anybody in the live chat, it'll have to be just by talking to them directly. So hey, PC, good to see you. And go ahead. Sorry, Damien.
Right. So, anyways, once I started looking, right, I actually at the time did not know if I was an atheist. I didn't like, I wasn't informed. I was religious, so I wasn't informed on any atheist anything. I didn't know there was an atheist community. I didn't know there was anything. I didn't know about evolution or anything. I was completely ignorant. But all of a sudden, I wanted to understand more and more and more. And so the more I understood, the more I started realizing just is more than just religion was wrong. That like
You said
almost
this was around 2004, 2005 that this was started?
2006.
2006. Sorry. Go ahead.
2006. So I started, to look at other stuff. So that's why I just started to tell people that it's not like I had a desire to learn all this and become an expert. It's just that I had a really desire to understand the truth. Then I got on Facebook, I think in 2009, and I started learning there was an atheist community. I didn't know that. So I was already atheist. It's like people are like, well, Richard Dawkins
Yeah.
this and here. yes, Christopher Hitchens. I'm like, dude, I was a full-blown defined atheist before I ever met any or heard about atheists, anybody.
Yeah.
So anyways,
It's not like there's like big atheist sections of the bookstores and
right.
atheist
Or even in
churches and
college, it's not like they whenever they talk about atheism, they just say, well, compared to religion, but they don't explain like what atheism is, or it's not like so for me, once I met atheists, I also did not believe them. I wasn't, why? Because they're like, well, religion is wrong and this and that, and I go, well, how do you know that? I said, do you understand or know religion? And they're like, well, no one really does, Damien. It's that it's too complicated. It can't be understood. And I thought, that doesn't sound like a science answer. You just mean we can't do it yet. We don't understand it yet. So then I said, I'm going to understand it. So I've been trying to understand the evolution of religion. Well, to do that, I found out very quickly, it's hard to just use religion. Yeah. So I realized I had to understand DNA. And then I understand migrations, and I had to understand languages, and I had to understand, like you said, evolution and science and philosophy. And I had to understand like this whole world of stuff just to figure out religion was wrong and be able to prove it.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've done, is to try to prove religion is wrong, not just because we opinions say it, or it seems like it, or there's a few errors, but to actually track the son of a bitch, and figure out it's wrong. But doing that also, I got a love for science and started to really enjoy DNA and understanding like how humans evolved. It became like interesting to me.
It is cool.
So I focus a lot of my stuff. I always say I'm more proficient 1 million years to about 4,000 to 5,000 years ago. Everything in between, the entire Earth, all the cultures, all the DNA, all the archaeology, all the religion. That was my goal, just humongously, impossibly vast. And of course, it's taken me absolute years. And I made some mistakes because sometimes things look a certain way. This reminds me of, I see a chart before, right, that explains like how things can be, close, but not. Like you can have a grouping, everything's grouped, but it's not grouped in the like bullseye. It's all grouped on the outside. So it actually isn't the bullseye. You think it is because it's grouped, but grouped doesn't mean you're really hitting the mark of what actually happened, which is very understanding about like human DNA, how the migrations and why it's so confusing. Because people will say, oh, well, we're from East Africa. Yeah. Or they'll say, oh, we're from South Africa. Both those actually are kind of true.
Yeah,
and
then
they'll say, well, actually, we're from West Africa. And that's also kind of true. Yeah. Or we're from North Africa, which is the closest to true.
Yeah.
As if you mean the oldest, and that's where everything comes from. So and then, like I said, it's confusing too, because because I didn't know before, I had to learn. Did humans just somehow come out of something by themselves? Well, no. Homo erectus goes over to North Africa, actually goes into Europe, but the one that went into Europe is not what made us. The one that stayed in Africa and further evolved became humans, Neanderthals, Andisovians, and it's their line before they're that went into, when it split from humans to 750,000 years ago, then I don't know when exactly, but sometime before 500, it goes into Spain. And then in Spain, it splits for about 430 or so to maybe 300 and something. It splits in a sense, the descendant of Soviet, whatever, and the Neanderthal. By the way, using terms and words, I'm not
is this Homo erectus that you're talking about?
Well, no, an ancestor from Homo erectus in North Africa splits into three things, in a sense. Our last common ancestor, 750,000 years ago, the line that will become humans stays in Africa. Sometime between that and 500,000 or so, that line, a branch of it, not that relates directly to us, but a branch that goes into Spain and becomes what will be Neanderthals and Denisovans, whatever. Can't remember how to pronounce it correctly. Denisovans. Yes. Those which go all the way to Siberia. And the
Right. Okay.
Neanderthals, those stay in Spain at least until about 400,000 or more. And then they start going into France.
Okay.
Then from France, they make it into Croatia by 150 to 130, make the first human burial. Then from there, they go into the Middle East.
The human barrow. What that
Burial.
you're talking? The burial. Okay. I thought it was
They do the first burial of a being or human, whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So they do the first burial. And then those same DNA people that were Neanderthals go into the Middle East sometime about the same thing, 130 to 120 something thousand years ago, which is the same time humans, which would be the second version of humans leaving, which did some stuff, go and also stayed for a while, goes out into that same area, to Israel, into Iraq, into these areas, and meets the Neanderthals. Neanderthals then teach us, it seems, mountain steering tools, which is a type of stone tool, but we make it modified for the human hand because we're a little bit different size and stuff structure. That's so they can tell that we copied it sort of. But also they also know that with experimental archaeology that it's not super easy to just watch somebody and then do this.
Right.
It took like week, 2 weeks, month, longer, to actually learn the tool. But then they also did burials, which had never happened from a human line before. So
and
was
this burial found in
ground, like small burials, like they didn't do like 6 feet deep.
Yeah.
But probably a couple feet deep in like a pit, and then put the body and put dirt over it.
I'm wondering, is it on the chart here?
Well, we're going to get to that. I want to just give an overview of my knowledge real quick, so people can grasp. Then we can say what this is doing. So I'm just giving an idea.
Okay.
So, and then just real fast. And so those people, right?
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
We're talking about Homo neanderthalensis and Homo denisovans still, or
no? The Denisovans
it's also
already
Homo
left
sapiens are in the mix.
The Denisovans leave Spain and go to Siberia and are doing their own thing.
Okay.
So Neanderthals are doing a different thing. They're going. They go from Spain to France to Croatia and then to the Middle East. And then from there, 100,000 years ago, they took female DNA and they go to Siberia from the Middle East, right? Then later, like 50,000 to 60,000 years ago, Croatian Neanderthalensis again moves, but this time it just goes straight to, not to Middle East, it goes straight to Siberia and mates with the Denisovans in Siberia, and also gives them some culture.
Got you. And there was a lot of heavy mixing between species, as far as I understand the model, is Neanderthals, Denisovans, sapiens, they all bred together.
But at different times and different DNA or clan groupings, in a sense, also. Because there's culture going on. It's not like zero culture. Especially the Neanderthals seem to be the one of the main or biggest or earliest really culture expressions, not humans. Humans do it after and do more in a sense, but only after they're inspired by the Neanderthal, it appears, because they trade one DNA, human females to Neanderthal males at 120 to 100,000. They also, like I said, stone tools, the Neanderthal tools come into humans technology, and then red ochre use comes from Neanderthals into humans at the same time also, and then burial, the Neanderthals burial, we start burial, although Neanderthals did not put grave goods. The first human burial in Israel did. It put antlers near their head.
Oh, that's cool.
So it did something. It did. So in other words, also, as the truth always is, that things evolve. So they got an idea, and then they evolved it because they may have been more symbolic in a sense, our thinking or whatever. But Neanderthals were symbolic too. I'm not trying to say they're not. But anyway, so let's go back to this map, just so people understand this. Homo
longi.
Yeah, those are ones that came off of. You're talking about stuff that came off of Homo erectus. Okay. I'm not going to give you the whole thing about. I like to focus on the humans because we're going to get the out of Africa stuff. We're not the earliest modern humans, so I don't want to explain every line that branched off of Homo. That's from Eastern Homo, or it could have been even from the ones from other areas. The Homo,
and that's fair because there's a lot to get through.
Right, because Homo erectus also probably led the Homo florensis, which is the Hobbit. But I don't want to. My goal is not to give the thing on the Homo erectus. I'm just saying Homo erectus leads to us in a sense, or relates to a ancestor that in between that comes to become us.
Yeah,
I was just trying to say that the other. Because it's not on this direct map, but we have another map member that does show it. But anyway, so I'm just saying, so the humans start in North Africa, that's the oldest ones. Yeah. Then they went down into West Africa. That's what that white little circle is.
The white oval, yeah.
Correct. Then the different branches, everybody in a sense, the first migration, which this is not totally explaining. The first migration then goes to South Africa and then goes to in a sense, up to the Middle East.
Okay.
Right? So this one doesn't explain that.
And this is something we're piecing together with fossils and artifacts and cave paintings and burials and DNA.
Okay. Yeah, we have. When we go to other pictures, you'll see that, or if you added it, that we have we know what DNA did it. Boom, 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 boom. What time? We know with the DNA. So the DNA goes out right to Africa. That DNA then comes back. It's not on this exact map, but we have other ones that will explain this. That comes back, then ends up going to East Africa and stuff, maybe a little bit to South, and then the branch that went to East Africa on this picture, it becomes the male line. It doesn't mean it's the first humans. It becomes the last common ancestor for all out of Africa. Male comes straight from, in a sense, West Africa to East Africa. The female line is the one that went from West Africa to South Africa, back up to East Africa, and then meets the male line. That's why if you look at maps, that one starts as South Africa female, and then the males are coming from, in a sense, West Africa over to East. Or some people just say they both come from East. Well, they did meet there.
Right, yeah.
So that's why I'm saying it's hard, because people's like, oh, what's this or that or this? And it's like, well, yeah, that's kind of all sort of true. Depends on how you're explaining it. But anyway, so let's go to the next picture.
Sure.
Right. So the next picture now is showing it in more detail. So this is this picture on the left is kind of what I was talking about. This is the first when they met the Neanderthals. This is the first migrations, and they went all the way to South Africa and then all the way up into the Middle East. See that?
Yeah.
So that's the first one. This has nothing to do with humans today.
So it's each different colored blob there, different haplogroup of the DNA, as they're called?
Correct. It's showing you the MT is, in a sense, female and the Y is male. So it's showing you which ones did what. We know what DNA did what at what times. And so I'm just trying to show you that this is what is really the second migration, because the first migration somehow gets to Greece by 200,000. There's a skull, but we don't know what DNA is, so I can't tell you where it came from. But this is but it didn't do anything. So they didn't really do tools or in a big way or anything. So it's not special. But this one is, because this is where we learned animism. This is where we got red ochre. Okay. We got red ochre. This is where we got burials. This is where the red part. That's where that happened. And if you notice too, that's why people ask me, well, Damien, why do you say it's an African is where animism is if it happened in the Middle East? And I'm like, well, if you look at this red blob, it never left Africa.
Mm.
It merged its I guess migration regions or traveling, because they're hunter gatherers, right? They're not like sedentary. So their range, in a sense, is Africa and some of Middle East. See what I'm saying? Or maybe almost all.
Yeah. So on average, I think humans can travel something like 20 miles per day on foot, something like that.
Right,
There
and I'm not
is
saying
a
that they
certain
didn't.
radius around which
Right.
it's reasonable to presume they were capable of transporting themselves.
Right,
And
but
then that
there would have
radius
been some
significantly
regional.
increases when humans start using horses.
Well, horses is like
But that's a ways off. Yeah.
4,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
That's nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
Well, even humans were probably using deer. I mean, not deer, probably elk and moose
I've
and
seen people
reindeers
riding
for
them. Yeah.
stuff to ride and to use like almost sleds, because we know sleds are like 10,000 years old. So they
Okay.
were either using dogs or some other animal, or they were using. And I'm talking about the Arctic. This
Yeah.
is true, not in the South, but in the Arctic, they were already using something. But anyways, that has nothing to do with this, because this has to do with 120 to that red thing to like 100,000 years ago. So this is nothing to do with horses.
Way before that. Yeah.
Right. But what I'm trying to say too is this is a simplified, just so everyone understands, this is correct and yet not correct, because this is very simplified.
Yeah.
Humans, of course, like you said, will have a range. And so they probably were even smaller grouped than this thing is showing.
Yeah.
But they all, in a sense, are doing the same stuff, the same technology, the same sort of DNA was in this area, and the same ideas are being transferred across this region, little areas, whatever.
Yes, and it's like correct, incorrect. We're talking about a scientific model. So we try to use the truest version of the model, but we always know certain things are going to be wrong, or they're going to be slightly inaccurate. We'll find new evidence and improve
that's
the
also
model.
correct. Yes. Right. But all I'm saying is this is the general correct thing.
Yeah.
This is what happened. The first migration, like I said, to Greece has nothing to do with this, because I don't even know what the DNA is. Plus, it didn't do anything. This stuff happened.
They were building stuff. They were leaving behind artifacts and
they're burying
author
people
paintings
for the first time. Yeah, this is of massive importance. But this is not out of Africa in a sense what people think about it, because they think about it like 55 to 60,000 years ago. Well, this is way before that.
Yeah.
And then, so anyways, so this just shows how we got animism, because the red people got animism, nobody else. So all these other colors, no animism. So you're like, well, how did animism get all over Africa? Well, that's what the second picture is. The second picture shows 85,000 to 75,000. Those people went back down.
Yeah.
And they
into that Homo region.
What's that?
Into that is that Homo or
versus the yellow area, right? Because that's what the red was. That's what it just expands.
Yeah.
And it also goes south. And then those ideas in the next area also go south towards South Africa.
Okay.
And that's why South Africa 70,000 years ago worships the stone snake, which I think really relates to the Milky Way. Some people are like going, oh, it's a common, or whatever. No, I don't think so. Especially because there's all kinds of other bone artifacts that people call tally sticks, where it's a stick with just a bunch of lines on it, which I think is like the stages or steps of the Milky Way. But anyways,
I can see why that would like freak a creationist out. They're like, oh my God, no, this can't be true. My Bible it's the story. It's the one. God came down and they gave it to us. And it's like, no, they were coming up with stuff way before that. And your Bible even appropriated a lot of this stuff.
Right. Well, and first off, they learned it from Neanderthals. So the origin of religion to Damien, at least, from what my knowledge, and from looking at the DNA and looking at the artifacts and looking at the burials and what they were doing, to me, they taught us rudimentary, either pre-animism or just a very limited, like animism. To think about it, so people understand, I see it as like, for me, is, even though there's different ways of explaining it, the simplest way to me is just spiritism. It's a belief that there can be spirits, or that spirits can or are everywhere.
Yeah.
That's what in a sense, animism. And that may have been what the Neanderthals had, a very simple, and then humans started going, well, this animal is special with the horns. Because later, I don't know at that time what horns meant, but later, because I'm just using a reference of religion, later horns mean stars. But is the Milky Way and the also,
I can see that, like the points on the horns are like a constellation,
right? And that doesn't mean, just so people understand, I'm not saying they had 12 constellations, 100,000 years ago. I don't think they had any. So let's just that's my opinion. I think they had the Milky Way, and they saw a bunch of stars and thought that had something to do with heaven or whatever. And heaven to them just meant like an upper world where because, and once again, I'm going to use ethnography. One of the oldest cultures is the Hazai people, or Hazeda, whatever, I don't pronounce it right probably, but people of South Africa, and they have no hierarchy, they have no leaders, they have almost no religion. They just believe, in animism, that
in the transcendent. Like,
well, they believe that they don't have an afterlife exactly. People say they do or don't. Well, they believe when you die, your body now is worthless in a sense. Just put it in a cave or something, or just leave it, and that's it. It's not a big deal. But they believe that the soul, in a sense, or spirit, to them, not really soul, but a spirit leaves and goes to the sun or a star, in a sense. It almost like the points becomes a star. So that could relate to the first grave that had the pointed antlers above their head, like going to the stars. So I really think that.
So they had a belief in supernatural.
Absolutely, yes, supernatural, but no God and no real like afterlife like we think of it. The people, although another group, the sand bush people, or whatever, the sand people, they they're a little bit more influenced, but even older sort of related DNA to the Hazara people. And the Hazara people have like DNA that's like 10,000 years older and without sort of like changing. So they could have old culture. And then same thing with the in a sense, the Sand people. Both of them, in a sense, have the oldest South African DNA, in a sense, sort of. But I'm talking about how in relation to how much it's changed. Our culture is not that different than like thousands of years, even though they have had influence. But anyways, the Sand people, they believe also that, in a sense, the Milky Way sort of is, they think is smoke, but it's a way to get to other people in heaven, in a sense. Because they have a story where a girl throws smoke or does smoke rings or something. And then she did it because she was lonely and wanted to go see the sky people. So they do believe there's people in the sky.
Okay.
Which, like I said, the other group they're also old. They don't think that anyone's alive in the sky, but all the dead people do go to the sun or whatever. So it's
the
very,
supernatural essence inside of them goes up to the sky.
Correct. And then there's no more. Down here, nothing. They said, what do you do? We just put it in a cave and walk on. So they're done. Anyways, just to understand, so that what these things are doing. So that I think the first religion that started is just a pretty simple thing, and what the Milky Way is just in a sense a ladder or a path or a way to get to these other people or to get to the sun, in a sense. So just to give you an understanding, but this helps me understand that it comes from the Middle East, from the Neanderthal related influence. And then, of course, as it goes down, the next burial is in East Africa, and it has tally sticks with the marks on it, which near the burial, a whole bunch of them stuff. So I think that those sticks are saying that's how the soul is getting to the stars. So I think there's a consistency of what's going on. Anyways, so let's go to the next picture. So people came down. Go to the next picture.
Yes. And so yes, I am reading the chat, Catherine. We're just trying to let Damien talk. He's got a lot of knowledge to get out.
Right. So this next picture is kind of showing what I already talked about, where the Y DNA, the male DNA, and also, by the way, I do believe in other. I'm not trying to say there's only male with Y and only female with this. I'm just trying to make this stuff is already really complicated. So I'm just trying to show the difference. But I myself am intersex and genderqueer, so I feel like I'm too gendered. So just so people know, I wanted to explain that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Right. So, but for sake of trying to make this seriously complex stuff simpler, just wanted to explain. So this is, I made this map. A lot of the stuff is my art. I make trying to make a visual aid, because I know sometimes this stuff is not. They break it up into
so
little.
Helpful.
They break it up into little pieces, and then unless you're like me, have read every single thing, it's super hard. So
yeah.
So the top one is showing the in a sense what the Y DNA haplogroup and how it moved out of Africa and never. Now the reason it doesn't go south is not because males did not go south, but the males that left Africa did not go south. That's what this is explaining. They just went from West Africa to East Africa, out of Africa.
Okay, and this is why the model is called Out of Africa, because you've got human predecessor and human groups other than Homo sapiens, all their haplogroup DNAs.
This is only Homo sapiens. This has nothing to do with anybody else. The only reason they look different is one is the male line that went out of Africa, and then one is the female line that went out of Africa, and they did not go the same routes. That's because this has to do with our common ancestors out of Africa. That doesn't mean that people in Africa don't have DNA that went south that was male. They do. But those people that did that did not become all humans out of Africa. But these two lines that I'm showing are the ones that directly got together and made all humans that came out of Africa. Okay. So that's why I'm breaking it up so that you understand. Let's go to the next picture.
And I'm kind of picturing that, like, a lot of these lines are like the biggest migrations, like that there were other offshoots.
That's correct. Yes. Well, right. Once again, I agree with you. This is a simplified version to kind of help you understand. So in this next picture right here, this is showing the different sites that Neanderthals were at. The first one on the left. Okay. And the circle is just showing it centralizes. Now there's ones also in Iraq, but I'm not focusing on that. I'm focusing on where humans learned animism, which I think was Israel or the land of Palestine. That area, maybe a little bit of Jordan also, but so it's kind of. But anyways,
so as the Homo sapiens group is moving around, religious cultures are evolving and changing, and that is helping us identify some of these human groups.
So Neanderthals were already there.
Okay.
We show up in areas they're already at. We learn, like I said, tool technology from them, red ochre, which is symbolic. Burials we do only after meeting them. So at least those three things. Right? So that all that happened in Israel, and those things are caves, by the way, most of them. So the caves. And then the one straight below on the left, that one below is the same as that other picture where it showed that group that left and was also still part of Africa. That's the people that met the Neanderthals and got the tool technology, got the red ochre, and got burials. And I also believe they got a mild form of animism.
Right.
Then the next picture on the bottom in the right, that's when those people, that same culture, which is a little bit bigger, but same culture, those people, one is about climate change. Actually, it got colder, and then that could be why.
Oh, okay.
It's a similar time it got colder, but they left. They went back to Africa. I'm just giving a reason of maybe why they left.
Right. Okay.
So then, but as I say, it's kind of hard to say they left because they also still were always in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So
yeah,
that's also why it makes it confusing, because they left, but they didn't leave. You know, some of their group left, but all of their group did not leave, because some of their group, you know, DNA at least, was still in Africa also. So yes, like someone asked, yeah, we had more than one migration. Exactly.
Yeah.
Both in and out, multiple times. We're not even done. So this is what this is explaining. You know, this map, the in and out, and that showing more in depth the caves and where stuff happened. All right, let's go to the next picture. So this right here, it shows the female line, because the male line, as we just learned, that relates to all humans, did not do this. So I'm showing just the female line, sort of relating then with the male line, how all the places it went, just so you understand.
And it went all over the place. My goodness.
Well, yeah, it went everywhere. Everywhere out of Africa relates to a certain lineage. Okay, so which is L3 female. L3 female. Right after L3 female, everybody. Well, Europeans are evolved Asians is a better way to say it.
Yeah.
If you really want to be accurate. And also European skin. Okay, what the first time that it got anything other than dark skin was, the minimum is Lithuania and the Baltics got lighter skin maybe about 13 to 11, 10,000 years ago. Between that side, nowhere else in Europe, just there. Makes sense. Then another version of light skin comes in about 5 or 6. Then another version of light skin comes in 3,000, and then you kind of get everybody's white. So it's really, they say that all of Europe, in a sense, doesn't become white until 3,000. So when people think like, well, Europe has always been white, no. And white skin actually comes from southern Siberia, so all of it. All the stuff that relates to Europe, all the stuff that relates to the Americas or Asia or anywhere else, that's all where it happened. It's just that different versions went different places. Our 1B female goes to Europe and has European sort of features. And that's why also that DNA then goes down to the Taran Basin Chinese mummies, and why people go, oh, they kind of have European features. I'm like, those are actually Siberian features that people call European features. Is more accurate. But anyways, that's side point. So go to the next picture. This just shows it all goes around. So everyone's related. So everyone thinks they're not related. Wrong. Wake up to the truth.
Right.
Yeah, later folks arrived late on the scene, because we were talking before about the very old DNA coming out of Africa. So white people are a new fad.
Yes.
Not anything original.
I love being part of the new fad. It's great.
Right. So
hopefully
this right here, this picture is showing in more depth. And this, of course, relates to the female DNA again. And what it did, and you see it goes up to East Africa and then out of Africa. And then some version also goes over to West Africa. And that's why they're also related to us too, why everybody's kind of related. So when people think they're so different, not really.
And one of the good things about doing this stream, hello to everybody watching this after the live stream. If you want to, pause for a second and read the text and look at all the charts and really enjoy and absorb the information Damien has brilliantly assembled for us here, which, again, great job on all this. I can't say it enough.
Right, and also people need to understand this stuff has links and has blogs and articles that go with it that you can go research more, and, so, yeah. What does it say?
When was the migration?
Was the migration back in case I missed it. There was a migration back at 75 to 85,000 years ago into Africa. The next migration that comes back is about 30,000, not 41,000. So let's go to the. Did he say something about UV radiation? You're talking about white skin? White skin, like I said. So white skin is a variation that happens slowly. And Asian, I would have to show you the different charts. I don't remember if I gave it to you, but I don't want to focus on that yet because that's
we'll try and get to a lot of this stuff here as we
talking
progress
about 100,000 years ago, 75,000 or 70,000 or 50,000 years ago. You're talking about stuff that is under 20,000 for sure. So so this right here also explains we are one human family. We know this for a fact.
Yes.
The DNA, the genetics shows that 3 billion humans, in a sense, all have 99.9% identical. For every other person on the world, we're only 0.1% different genetically. Racism is absolute just foolishness. And hate, but hate is foolishness. Anyways,
so
I don't want to read all this because I want to get to more stuff.
You're fine. The sociological perspective is that race is not even really actually a thing. It's a socially constructed concept based on how we perceive certain genetic phenotypes.
Well, actually, right. So racism actually, to me, is stupider than that because racism says white skin, right? Let's just go there, right there. Oh, white. Okay. People in Korea and some people, the Han Chinese, are literally whiter than some people that call themselves white. And they'll say, yeah, but their eyes. Oh, so it's not about the white skin then, right? Right. So racism is stupid even then.
And white isn't even really a thing. There's Saxons and Danes and Germans and French people. White is just what we are describing their phenotype as.
Let me answer the question that got up here. The Toba eruption did have a thing. Yes, maybe that's why some of the humans, with the climate change, could have been semi-related to the Toba eruption. My point is trying to make this simple and not add every more facts. But like I said, humans came down with climate change. The Toba eruption, which is a volcanic eruption that happened like 75 to 70,000 years ago or something, 73 or whatever. I can't remember top of my head. But anyways, it happened. So people think, oh, well, it killed all the humans off. No, they kind of went back to Africa. I mean, it did maybe kill some people or made the life harder. And but yeah, no. It did, even the Neanderthal. There's stuff in the volcanic eruption, area of like if you look at the sedimentary layer or whatever, there's stuff in there where the Neanderthals were still surviving, so it didn't kill everybody. So because I bring it up because some people think, oh, it was devastating and wiped out everything. It doesn't seem like it was as bad as some people think. So that's from looking at stuff. That's what I would say. Yes, it did have an effect. I think maybe it even could have done why the climate dropped and why humans decided, hell, it's too cold in the Middle East and go back to Africa. But anyways, I don't want to talk about that. So this is the 150 in a sense to 100,000 years ago, and this relates to the first chart on the left side is just showing how the DNA split off and becomes different kinds of humans. Everything that has a pink on it, see the pink? I added the one for E because for some reason the Wikipedia page that I got this did not remember that E did leave Africa 3 times. So what the fuck? You can't say it didn't leave Africa. So I added that little part for the E pink because that is a fact. So anyways, but B, so this is BT, right? So then the next thing on the right shows haplogroup B, how it is, in a sense, in Africa. And as you notice, I didn't add pink to that or to A because there's no reason to. They didn't leave Africa. But that to say that they're not humans, yes, they are. As you see, BT became the humans that left Africa and also the humans that stayed. So Yeah, there are.
Sydney just commented this earlier, had a creationist a while arguing that Neanderthals were really humans, had to point out the name Homo. And isn't that fun, Sydney? Because technically, yes, they are humans. They're just a different species of human.
Yes,
you know?
that's correct. Correct. They are Neanderthal humans. So yes, human Neanderthals or whatever. Same with the Denisovans or whatever.
Denisovans, yeah.
Denisovans.
Denisovans. I think
Excuse me.
tomato.
I know a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
but I didn't do great in school because I also am a sociopath, so I have a hard time learning because I kind of don't care.
Yeah.
So I have to try to fight that not caring. So, yeah. But anyways, I do know a lot. But anyway, so let's go on. So I just show you that the people, the black people or whatever, are not different than white people. They literally, we all relate to the same people. So, yeah.
Did you want to move to the next slide?
Yeah, next one. So the next one is because people get confused, especially with E. You'll hear a lot of people, E is from Africa. And I'm like, after it left. So DE is from, in a sense, the Middle East, or you can say Iraq, maybe almost Turkey, almost Iran. So it comes, that's where DE is. And DE, 75,000 years ago, enters back into, as you said, the Horn of Africa. So it goes back to Africa. And then that's what the other, I drew this other picture to the E, so that you can see DE comes from there, goes down and becomes E. So when they say, well, E's always been in Africa, I'm like, well, that's correct. But the DNA that was its parent wasn't from Africa, is the better way to understand it. So anyways, but also E, as I already said, and that other chart I had to fix, that E doesn't stay in Africa. That's what the purple, see, the purple is E, but purple goes on the right side, by the way. I'm talking about to make it not confusing. The purple E does go into Africa. I mean, Africa. It does go to the Middle East and then into Europe, and actually goes into even to Spain. So
something goes out of Africa. We've got DE. DE goes back into Africa.
No, it wasn't DE. What left Africa would have been, I can't remember now. That time I had BT, I think.
Okay.
And then BT's child is DE, and then DE is who came back. Make it even, I know, more confusing.
And that feeds
and
into
then that
E,
becomes E, but it
and
also
then E goes all over the place.
Let me explain though.
Okay.
Actually, even this is not 100% accurate. I'm just trying to simplify it for you. So actually, it comes back in. DE comes back in as CT. I know this is confusing. And then one of CT's children is E. And then all the other ones, well, I think all the other ones of CT become out of Africa. Every other DNA out of Africa.
And that's the purple lines.
No, that's not on here yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I said, all this I know is, but I'm trying to make it as, you know, let's go to the next picture. Just trying to show, though, that even E left Africa multiple ways.
That was just the text you sent me.
Yeah, right. And there's text, and there's, like I said, I have links and stuff that if you want to go look more. And see, this here is what I was talking about. See, DE actually comes back as CT, and then one of CT's children that stays in Africa to somewhat, because it also goes back out of Africa. It goes back out of E goes out of Africa like 20,000 years ago, and then goes back maybe about 12 to 16,000 years ago, and then goes back 5,000 years ago in the Middle East and Europe. I mean, so it's constantly keeps going to the Middle East and Europe. Now, by the way, Einstein is E, but Einstein's not African. He's Middle East because it was in the Middle East 20,000. It was in the Middle East 12,000. It was in the Middle East 5,000. Now, which branch is it? 20,000 years one? Is it the 12,000 or the 5,000? I don't know, because I didn't research exactly what his and look at all the haplogroups, because you would have to figure out each one and trace it back to figure out how you get to Einstein. So, but also, by the way, Hitler is also E. So Einstein and Hitler are both E. Males, by the way. This is male DNA. Female DNA is a whole other thing, which like I said, that's why all this is confusing, because male and female DNA is not doing the same thing, because Adam and Eve is bullshit.
Yeah.
So anyways, but they
that
do
is a
relate
point that had not really even occurred to me until you just now. But yeah, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Sorry,
it's
go ahead.
insanely not true.
Yeah.
Fuck no. But anyways, so and then if you read this stuff, it talks about what CT is and how it relates to all the people, and it says it was established approximately 30 to 40,000 years ago. And anyways, so but the whole point is, so going out, I'm talking about, not itself. Itself is older. But anyway, so it shows all this stuff is doing different things. So CT, anyways, goes out and becomes F. This is male DNA only, or what's called Y, DNA haplogroup.
Mm-hmm.
But so an F then becomes these different one, H, whatever, and K. Now K is real important, because K is where, in a sense, Europeans come from. So K, but also that's where Asians come from. So but
yeah.
K splits into K1 and then K2. Asians are K2 mainly, and Europeans are K1. So still K, and K comes from F, and that comes from CT in Africa. So at some point you're African.
Is that the split that happened at Lake Baikal that you were telling me about?
Well, so K1 becomes P, and maybe even P1, and P1 turns into Q and R, and Q is 95% of all South Americans. So that version went that way. And then the other version of P1 split was Q and R. R becomes the Europeans. I think it's like maybe 80% or 75% of Europeans are R. Or maybe it's a little bit, something close to that. Just put that. It's a lot. A lot of people, in Europe, are related to R. So anyways, but that comes from K, and K goes to P, and P goes to P1, and P1 is what turns into Q and R in Lake Baikal, like you said, or close to it. But anyways, we'll get to that in a second. So now let's and you notice too that P and K and stuff, K2 goes to MS, and MS goes to Australia. So anyways,
so that's the Aboriginal ancestor?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
But
I think I'm starting
related.
to get like the tiniest little bit below a surface level understanding of this, because it is complex.
Everyone is related. This thinking that somehow I'm special, you're not. So move on. Next. So let's go to the next picture. And this next picture now, this is now showing LO is female, or what's called MT DNA haplogroups. So and LO is what led to eventually to L3, and L3 is what led to N and M female, which is all females out of Africa. All female lines is split into all kinds of different things. So, but this shows that the L that stayed, because just because some left does not mean all left Africa, right?
Yeah.
This is just showing the ones that did not leave.
It's populations splitting and branching off.
Right.
Some stay where they are, others migrate.
Exactly. Right. So I'm just trying to show that even the ones that ended up branching and becoming all humans out of Africa does not mean that because see, the reason I bring this up, I wanted to show this, is because some people say this is what relates to all humans. Well, that's not accurate. Some of those people didn't leave Africa. So to say it like that is inaccurate. You mean you need to say all humans out of Africa. Or all human haplogroup DNA, whatever, out of Africa. The ones that stayed are still our ancestor. They just didn't leave. So you can't say, unless you're talking about LO, not L, or even L3 maybe, because L3, it's possible also stayed. Its children left. Say it more accurately. But L3 did birth the children that did leave and out of Africa. Everybody.
Yeah.
No matter where, no matter if it's New Zealand, no matter if it's Australia, no matter if it's Iceland, Finland, Europe, England, China,
Yeah.
Americas, South America, it makes no difference. But anyways, my point is, but you can't say that is everybody, because I feel like sometimes how people talk, it's like they think that once we left Africa, the people in Africa didn't exist or some bullshit. Yeah, they fucking did, believe it or not. So that's why I focus specifically to show this, to remind you that this right here still was happening.
Yeah.
Right. So this explains the people that stayed. And I said before that we explained the people that left, but Damien believes in that, taking care of understanding everybody. So this explains people that stayed. Anyways, and
and then you flash forward to today, and there's still all kinds of migrations and movements happening, and stuff piling up on top.
Correct. That is correct. And then the lines right here shows the different African. And if you notice, we have fewer branches than the people that stayed in Africa.
Interesting.
So it shows that also makes sense that they're older and they're more evolved in a sense than us. They were and doing more inner moving, like you said, lots of moving around. Anyways, so then the two pictures below it shows migrations from outside Africa back into Africa, and it also shows a few internal migrations, just to show that once again people are moving around, because a lot of people just thought that everyone was like sedentary. No, people moved around a shit ton. So let's go to the next picture.
Well, like nomadic cultures, their whole existence is based around moving.
Oh, exactly. So this should not be shocking that this is what happened. And this right here shows the out of Africa for D, because D, remember what we had way back then was D and E? Right. So we had D and E in Africa, remember? And then E stayed sort of, and then had a few migrations out, but mainly stayed in Africa, lots in Africa. It's all over Africa. But D kind of left and doesn't have a big impact in Africa. Its impact is in Asia and stuff. And this right here shows the migration, or the likely, I should say, migration, or, simplified version of the migration route, how it got to both Japan and over to what these people are, the Anemones or whatever. And also why the people in the Philippines and used to be Japan and stuff were black looking, and they called them negritos. But they actually are this right here. They're this migration. And that's also similar to me, because they also both have a sort of similar like religious belief and sort of similar kind of language arrangement, sort of, before the influence of the other people. So they're obviously, but see, human language, of course, language starts, I believe, before humans, but human language as a more probably cultural thing that was being shared is probably 100,000 years old. So it's not shocking that the ones at 50,000 or whatever, or 30,000 are having language. That's so, but it just shows that how people are related in a way that it makes sense to the DNA. And that why the people, being dark skinned, and yet they're Asians. They're not like, because some people used to think that it was like a migration of like just black people that mixed with Asians or came in and took over Asian area or something. That's not accurate. So these are Asians. They just look black in a sense. Anyways, so let's and this shows the region where they're at and stuff with the purple. The darker purple means there's more concentration of that DNA. Okay. So let's go to the next picture. So this talks about how people got to Europe. So in a sense, the first stuff to get to Europe isn't R, right? Because R, like I said, is the stuff now. But yeah, that's after another migration a long time ago, like, I don't know, 5,000 to 3,000. We're talking here like 50,000 to 30,000. So this is a different thing. And it's cDNA, but I wanted to show that cDNA went in multiple ways, because, there's no reason it has to go just one way. So the yellow is the oldest. That's probably C1, and it is probably about 54,000 when it gets to the area in between Spain and France. And it probably met because the Neanderthals are over there. So they probably met the Neanderthals. And by 50,000, the Neanderthals' culture changes dramatically. They get more human-like culture. So I think that's when we shared some more culture with them. And that would make also sense because it seems that how we had sex with Neanderthals is now our males are having sex with their women. Not the other way around, where the first time at 100,000 to 120,000 in the Middle East or Israel, the caves showed DNA is Neanderthal males and human females.
Interesting.
And I think also it could be a dominant or a shared culture thing. In other words, when we go into the area that was totally controlled by Neanderthals, it's possible we shared females as a gift or something, or culture to, hey,
peacemaking.
Look, we're not enemies or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly, but it, or it could be rape, but I don't. Yeah. I think that it because I don't think it's totally rape, at least not at the 120 and the 100,000, because we accept and adopt their culture.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's rape.
Maybe.
I think it's cultural sharing to try to get them on our side, is my opinion. Now, the 50,000 and the other one, the Neanderthals are now taking our culture. So because they kind of adapt and grow their culture, I don't think it's probably rape either. You see what I'm saying? No. I think this time they're trying to win us over. And so they give us the female. That's my kind of like thinking. Reason why I don't think it's because it could be rape, but I don't think so because you see the transfer of culture.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
yeah, whereas that would be a very violent interaction, and you're not likely to appreciate that person.
Right. Right. And it's not like in other words, they didn't do an exact copy of us.
Mm-hmm.
They just all of a sudden started wearing shells all over the place and more feathers and more, so they got more art on, they started doing more stuff. Their tools got more like sophisticated because they were more not. One of the reasons why too, you understand why the culture would be different too. Like they would want to work with us and give us females to not kill them or to not be hostile, because human groups were 30, 50, 100. Neanderthal groups are like 20, 10, 7, 6, or whatever. So they're more like family groups or larger than family. And we're like clans almost, in a sense. But anyways, just so
I can see how intermixing could create peace too, because now it means if you want to take out this enemy population, it might involve taking out your grandson or your niece or your nephew or something like that.
And it also could be a reason that the Neanderthals disappeared because, in a sense, we sexually adopted them in a sense. Someone said, I would say that a lot of sexual assault could be, like I said, I'm not saying it didn't involve sexual assault. I obviously don't know, but I was just saying, because it seems like it's a positive sharing of culture, I don't favor that. You know what I'm saying?
And I think anthropology does kind of make the point that we sprung from some blood-drenched sister-graping beasts. Like these, we like to think we're so much more sophisticated and civilized than them. But I don't know. I think maybe just our tools are a lot better than the tools they had, and the actual difference in sophistication is not so great.
Yeah, I personally don't think the sophistication was that different. But anyways, so then see also then this other one that goes north up into Asia, that's also C1. And then where it says 31,000 years ago, which is in Russia, that is C1 DNA. And that is, in a sense, the first of what is called the Gravettian culture or whatever, which is all kinds of tools and eventually like figurines and stuff. So that
cool.
culture, then it goes down to Czechoslovakia and or the Czech Republic, excuse me, the Czech Republic at 31 to 25,000. And it's, once again, it's C1 and also I, but it's that because I, and you notice C1, a child of C1 is IJ, so they're still related to C in a sense.
Yeah.
And then J stays in the Middle East. And then I goes up into almost, into Germany, almost into Denmark. But it either went the way I show it or the dotted. It could have gone over the Cossack Mountains. I don't think so. That's why I just put the dots. Some people think that. But my thinking is it went through the Balkans and straight up to the area. But anyway, so there's some mixing. So some people say that I is the oldest, because I is still around in Europe, where C is not. And some people try to say I is the oldest Europeans. Well, there's not a lot of people that have eyes, so
it's helping me to picture this in terms of how it relates to myself. Like I'm picturing here, envisioning my grandfather and his grandfather and his grandfather and so on and so forth. And it traces all the way back. And there's all these different areas that lineages come from. And when we do DNA testing, we do see people are a big mixture. They're 23% Nordic and 30% this and 12% Neanderthal. There's a lot of Neanderthal DNA in humans.
That's correct.
And this is kind of what we would expect if something like this is true. If all these different populations are moving around and migrating and mixing with one another. It's fascinating. It makes me feel closer to my ancestors.
No, very cool. But so I was trying to show you that all this comes from C, but C also gives rise, if C goes north, but C's child, which relates to K, or actually relates to F or something. I can't remember if it was C to F. I think, and then off the top of my head, and then F relates in this, like I showed you, to K, and then K relates to P and P1. Well, P and P1 go on the same route north, but it doesn't go to Europe. It goes the other way. It goes to Lake Baikal, but it follows this same route. So they probably were traveling together because the same route. Now, right where it splits, right? That to me is where I think shamanism, the earliest sort of version of it, came from. And the reason why is because everybody on both sides of the split seemed to have shamanism of the early version. Now it evolved way after that many times, but the early version. So when some people say that Siberian shamanism is the origin or the home of shamanism or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, kind of. I mean, that area, I think, because also that's the same area that the oldest dogs were. And then everybody who left there had a dog. So both sides. So to me, the dogs are directly related to also shamanism. And that is interesting because the first burial in Czech Republic, that burial at 25,000 or maybe a little bit older is the oldest female shaman burial with a fox, which is kind of like a dog.
Yeah.
And then,
no, they're in the same basic family.
Well, and also in the Middle East, they actually tried to, the first fox burials with shamans are 17,000 to 15,000. And then at 12,000, the burial in Israel is a shaman who has 8 turtle shells, a human foot, a bird wing, what else? 2 like weasels or whatever, which I think kind of relate to the dog. Again, sort of that kind of because once again, it's religion. It's the earliest thing of it. It's not like anybody's got a book goes, oh yeah, it has to be the dog, or you know what I'm saying? It has to be, but I think they're doing similar things because there's two of them, and later having two animals like cats or dogs, whatever, on each side of you is a complete religious theme that's at least like 9,000 years old, if not older, because actually 11,000 years old, there's a man with two like I don't know, feline.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a lion or leopard or what it is exactly, but two animals coming at him. And I think it relates to what's called the Lord of Animals, or if it's a female, the mistress of animals. Anyways. But
so I imagine in some instances, it was like they were directly imparting culture to other groups. And in other instances, you could absorb culture somewhat just by observing it, witnessing it, and then emulating it to what extent you can.
Right. But what I see, like some people are like, oh, they invent religion in every area they're in. No. What I see is people traveled and they took ideas with them, like, and then spread them where they went. Now, once it's there, yes, then they evolve to their relative area. And so you get some variation, but almost all religions that we have and all the core ideas, or what's called the mythemes, which is like the idea like they all kind of relate to, moved around. Mm-hmm. Somebody moved this. It wasn't like everyone just naturally thinks of floods. I'm like, yeah, no. Actually, I think it relates probably to Lake Baikal and the amount of creation coming out of the water. Kind of like where the Bible says that the Spirit of the Lord flew over the water of the deep. Yeah, because the whole earth, like all the other mythology in Mesopotamia and all other parts of the world, start as water world, no land at all. Then there's the first land.
So we kind of see the relationship between religions in their architecture, and then DNA helps us trace the groups that carried the religions to different places.
Exactly. That's how I was able to figure, not all religion, but the biggest elements of all these different things, including gods, including the myths of creation, including why they did the pyramids. All of this stuff was shared ideas, not Graham Hancock. One white race went and fucking told everyone, look at the DNA. Does that look like what it's doing? Are you fucking high? Let's go to the next picture. It's like, no, fuck no, hell no, shit no.
Yeah. So step one in kind of bottom up evolution of religion is animism. And then the next step above that is shamanism.
No, next step above that is totemism.
Totemism.
I think
I thought there was a step we might have missed.
Well, right. Yeah. To me, it's shamanism at least at 100,000. Totemism at about 50,000 happens in Europe. And then shamanism happens in Siberia. But as you see, shamanism goes to Europe and meets the totemists. Then after it meets the totemists, they go together, shamanism, totemism group, and they go back to Siberia. And now also because totemism had, I think, the first constellation beliefs, because animism didn't, shamanism didn't, totemism did. Totemism has also moieties and stuff for their clans. In other words, a animal or plant or whatever, something that relates to us, like we're the bird clan, whatever, in a sense. So because of that, I think that also inspires them to, as above, so below, kind of what people say in paganism. But I think that's not that inaccurate as a general like mytheme, that people see the sky. Because remember, we already know at 100,000, or I feel at 100,000, animism is already not just spirit filled, but also believes in the Milky Way, and also thinks that either the stars or the sun is where souls go after they die. So there's already, which is kind of like heaven, right? So you're already getting, so that's why we're not bringing this up, because some people go, Damien, animism is not a religion. And I go, yeah, but they had an animism religion. They had more than, in other words, I'm saying they had more, like, not a lot, but they had more concept than just, everything has a spirit. So I'm saying, because then
They
believe
that the spirit did stuff.
Right, it goes up to fucking the stars, right,
Yeah.
or the sun. I mean, and it probably uses the Milky Way, and you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So my point is, they had a few other things, but there's no constellations, there's no God, there's no like afterlife, like we think of. Oh, you're living heaven, you're great, and talking of your ancestors. No, there's no ancestors because those fuckers are dead, right? They walk on, they're gone. Now, totemism is a branch of animism. Shamanism branched off of animism. That's also why they kind of weirdly seem separate, even though they eventually become unintelligible because they mix. So, but they mixed in Europe, and then they go mixed in Europe and shoot to Siberia, mixed. But remember, Siberia already had shamanism, but they had the older totemism version. So now they get a totemism version. So 24,000, they start having figurines because totemism is like having a physical expression of the spirit or ancestor or animal in a sense, because they make birds and animals, right? And they're making horses and different stuff. They're making stuff like they have the 40,000-year-old in Europe lion man in Germany. Which also to me could be a bear, not just a lion, because also bears actually stand up.
I love that.
So has
can I ask a kind of random question?
Yeah.
So is there any evidence that these totems, these figurines, sorry, not totems, the figurines that people were crafting, were those just for like artistic enjoyment? Or did they play games with them?
Not.
Or
no, because a lot of times they broke the heads off. And they're doing them, using them in ritual ways.
Okay.
Also, to me, putting them at the four corners of your house.
They're
also putting them in the hearth, and the hearth was considered later a deity, but I think at first a helpful spirit because everything had a spirit. So the spirit of the hearth, which in like I think the Aztecs have the old god of fire, which really relates to the hearth, I think, in a sense.
I was picturing some arcane Homo sapien 80,000 years ago playing some game with his friend Oog. That's kind of like modern Magic the Gathering, but they're playing with rock figurines. I cast my stone tiger.
Well, so Neanderthals did have face rocks.
Oh, okay.
So some were mildly modified, but most just were rocks that looked like faces, and they seemed to take them in long distances. So they cared about them in some way. I don't know. Maybe they thought they were some ancestor or person that died. I don't know.
The pet rock really goes back.
Yeah, it does. So that is accurate. So, but the humans now in Africa, the Hazai people, they make mud babies. So when a woman is going to give birth, I can't remember exactly, but it's something like when a woman's going to give birth, an older female goes down with them to, like say the riverside or lakeside or some water source, and they get wet mud from that. But I think it relates to like the story of humans from clay or humans from mud, right? They take this stuff, so it could be related. They make these. They're huge. They're like a little baby. I mean, they're not like a little tiny figurine. They're like a huge baby, and they believe once you make it, it has its own spirit. It's not like it is the baby's spirit. Just to make a clarification. That's why when some people are like, well, these are all ancestors. Talking about the ones in Europe. Maybe. I think certainly probably after 25, that could be true because I think they're covering their face, which is a thing in shamanism that when you have a damaged eye or cover your face, that you can then see the spirit world. But I don't want to get into that. My point is, I don't think the ones to me, anything before that, I don't really think so. I think that, yes, it is something. Yes, it relates maybe to humans, but I think it's like a pseudo ancestor than an actual total human. Now, some people say that they carved them, some of those things probably after 25,000. Like I said, it might be ancestor related or a great grandmother or even the person themselves. But I still think, even if, my opinion, even if they model it after themselves, that does not mean it's their spirit. Just like the mud baby is related to look like a baby, and it's for the woman who's pregnant, but it is not a spirit of the baby to be born.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm just using ethnographic. So I don't know what I'm saying is I've learned a lot. I don't like to just blind guess or make speculations off of thin air. I like to go, okay, what do actual people in an ethnographic sense do? Let me take that as my speculation point in a sense.
And I imagine it to an extent that a lot, if not all, of the early art was about depicting objects directly in your daily life. You're painting a picture of a predator that might attack you in red ochre on a wall because that's something you've seen. It's something you've witnessed.
Right. And some of them are, remember also, you got to remember hunting cult is probably also 100,000 years old or older, so, which sees a symbolic relationship to the spirit you're killing and the spirit of sort of nature that allows you to have that animal or gave it to you in a sense. Sometimes their belief. So there's a magical, there's never like, and there's, so I'm just bringing it up. We say daily life. Do not think of it the way we think of it. Think of it the way a animist thinks of it. There's no such thing as never magic in a sense. Everything. My spoon is magic or relates. Almost. It's that's more accurate than thinking that like we do, where there's the sacred and there's the not sacred. To them, the animist is like, what are you talking about? The whole world's sacred. What?
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? So totemism, you're correct about the real world. So shamanism is about more the afterlife or spirits in another realm or something like that, where totemism does have some of that relating sometimes to the totem itself, because it's a pseudo being, just like the mud baby. It's a being, but it's kind of like a pseudo spirit in a sense or something. It's not like a direct relating to us, even though it is relating to us. I know it's kind of confusing.
Kind of reminds me of a voodoo doll.
Right, a voodoo doll, but it's but voodoo doll is relating to an actual person.
Right.
Where the baby isn't, even though it's given to the mother that's pregnant and going to have a baby, it's not a ancestor. It's not, I'm just saying ethnographically. This is a fact. I mean, just saying a fact. So I try to use that concept and say, okay, that could relate to why they're doing these dolls, right? Something similar. Because we know that they do this and they think this, and then I see them doing this other behavior. It's not a wrong thing.
We know they were making mud babies. It's the question of why, like what was their reasoning for doing it, and we could speculate about a couple of things. I think.
Well, but I'm saying that they still do. In other words, they make mud babies today.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so do you understand? I don't know if people know, but ethnography is basically like anthropology with the real people of today, in a sense. So I'm just saying but my thought would have been that they're making a spirit of the baby to come.
Yeah.
But that's
something
not
like
what they say.
like that, or like this, like Robin Webster says, or I'm picturing it as just like being a ritual, giving thanks to the whole cycle of birth, and
Well, yeah, it's probably something kind of related to that. But like I said, how they say is they make it and it has its own soul, and it's not an ancestor, it's not a god, it's not a nature spirit, it's not the baby to come. But anyways, I don't want to get all confused into what they do and stuff. I want to keep going on. All I'm trying to say is using that as a logical standing point to then jump into what these other figurines that we don't have any knowledge of why they make them could in a semi way relate to the mud babies. Is all I was trying to say. It is a symbolic pseudo person, not a real person. Anyways, so I want to go on to the next slide.
No, that's cool. I enjoy the tangents. I'm trying to learn as much of this as I can.
Right, and so this shows the same thing, sort of the Asian stuff, showing where it was the cDNA and this P1, C1. I mean, sorry, cDNA and P1. They both went along that black line. See, then at the junction point where they split, it says there's P1, there's Q, there's R. All this stuff is happening, and then you see that only C1 went to Europe first, to Russia, where the other ones went
that's
the
the
other
one
way.
that terminates in Sungir.
Correct. And it tells you it has male Y DNA C1 and has female DNA U.
Oh, interesting.
See,
Why is it different male and female? Is it?
Yeah, well, you look at the one like the Ukish man is K2 male and the female is R.
Okay.
And you look at Lake Baikal and it's see it has mDNA U.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, we can go to the next one. I just wanted to show you, see Tijuana man in China, it splits off of C in a sense. So I'm just showing you, but actually it splits off of K2 down there. But this right here shows one of the major migrations back into Africa with female DNA. It's female DNA, in a sense, U. I think it's U6. And then U6A goes to North Africa. Is a different version of the similar DNA. But as you notice, this relates to also a good track of the art, because the little stars are where there's art.
Oh, cave paintings and stuff.
Correct. So it shows
that's a lot.
Well, it shows that this U DNA with also had C1 going north, and who went to the south? Can't think off the top of my head right now. But anyways, it just shows though that the ideas I'm trying to show you that the ideas do follow and track with the paintings.
Mm-hmm.
People that went to the one way, paintings. People went down to the Middle East, paintings, and then paintings in Africa.
Yeah, you can see the paintings follow the path south.
Yep.
And then you also see that the path west terminates in a huge bunch of paintings.
Well, right. Well, also just so you know, just because C6 kind of stops and it goes a little bit further, but what happens is the reason why it's all similar is because that's U6, but U2, U1, U3, I think, U5, U6, U7, I think are all in Europe. So it, in a sense, but in U5 is the person who was the first shaman. So U6 is related to all this, and U5 goes into the Czech Republic and buries that U5 female. And then U5 is in Scandinavia, and U5 goes south and becomes all this stuff too. And then U5 and I think even goes to Siberia later and brings ideas. So U5 is like heavily connected to shamanism. Almost everyone who has U5 is related to this mass shaman. And anyways, but I'm just saying, so the art and stuff, you can see that culture, once again, like I was trying to say, people try to think like, well, cultures made their own stuff with no outside influence. That is just nonsense. Because you can track a lot of this stuff that, like I said, with U5 and shamanism, you can track with what's being done. What the person say? Saddest part, we are lucky to find as much as we have preserved. Well, yes, there's a lot we don't know. I totally agree. And I'm not trying to say, in a sense, I have every single fact of every single part. I have enough to know that this big statement, religion is a cultural product like language. And it moved in a sense, cultural migrations.
What are you talking about, Damien? All the different languages that come from the Tower of Babel. The Bible tells you right there.
No, wrong. Next picture. Okay, this shows a later migration, not the same one, as we already talked about. The top picture shows, in a sense, that star, that's white people. And this yellow thing, this is where white people came from. Okay? Then a different white people is the other one that look like light purple. That is the Asian white people, even though in a sense they're both Asian. But they are different in a sense. What does it explain why pyramids in South America and Egypt? Well, okay, so let me explain to you.
No, she says this explains why.
Oh, well, I actually can explain it better than what you're thinking. So
Okay.
I'll explain pyramids real quick. So everything relates in a sense to two main concepts: earth diver mythology and the mound of creation, which I already mentioned before. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That is why pyramids, in a sense, and also a thing called the axis mundi, which is basically the center of the world, which some people think is a tree, which of course relates back to the axis mundi is actually the Milky Way originally. But so the Milky Way is considered to be the center of the earth, like a pole axis. It's not, but I'm just saying. Because once again, that's how you get to heaven. Yeah. So, and then later it became a rainbow that did the same thing in a sense. But was anyways. So the axis mundi could be a tree. It also relates to a mountain. It also relates to a mound. It also relates to a sort of a stepped platform mound thing, which is still like the first earth or first land out of the water in a sense.
Yeah, a plateau.
Right. And so that's where, in a sense, pyramids come from. In fact, the pyramid structures, and you say Egypt starts actually because of Mesopotamia, but Mesopotamia really starts because of like Ukraine and the Cossack Mountains. But they start because of Siberia. But Siberia really got its idea for mounds like 10,000 years ago from the Middle East, from Israel. But Israel didn't have a mound. What they had was a turtle. That's where all turtle mythology in the entire world comes from, is Israel, which is weird, North Israel. But anyway, but it's because ideas. So what happened is this. So it's a turtle, right? Turtle, great. So turtles went up. Siberia's like, yeah, cool, but we don't have turtles. So it's a mound, which became a kurgan and a dolmen. That's why there's dolmens in the earliest dolmens is actually in Nova Scotia or whatever, over in Canada. And then also in Brittany, France, because the DNA went two different ways with a similar idea. But anyways, so what happened, though, with the pyramids, as you want to get to, the pyramid goes, it's not a pyramid. It goes from kurgans to, say, from Russia, from Siberia, West Siberia, to Russia 7,000 years ago. And then it goes into the Cossack Mountains about 6,000 years ago. 6,000 years ago is the first, in a sense, platform mound in Iraq or, Samaria. And then those ideas go to Egypt, and Egypt gets what's called a madrasa, which is a platform mound sort of grave thing that is relating, in a sense, to all this stuff, mound of creation, whatever. So that, in a sense, inside the Egyptian madrasa, they would build a little mound of creation. Because that's what the whole purpose of the thing was. You have to understand what they're doing it, why they're doing it is it's like a recreation machine, like, reincarnation, which, by the way, almost 100% of Siberians believe and almost 100% of Native Americans believe in reincarnation in a version. Because the reason I bring this up is because everyone thinks, reincarnation, it came from, India. Well, India got it by way of the Middle East, because L-DNA male is what became what's called the Indus Valley culture. And the Indus Valley culture then moved more. First it was in Pakistan, basically, on the edge of India. And then it becomes India. And that becomes the Dravidian culture that they think is, born in India. And I'm like, it was born in probably Iran or, Iraq. You want to be really honest.
The populations of organisms are evolving. Their architecture is evolving.
Yes.
And the mythology is evolving. The spiritual,
absolutely. Everything
the supernatural.
Evolves.
Yes.
Everything evolves. And I would say it's all natural. It's all and it wasn't just like all invented in one area. The idea kind of starts, and then they migrate, and those people go, oh, cool idea, but they relate it to themselves. And then that idea went back, and then it evolved again, because those people are like, well, I don't have mountains like Siberia, so I don't have a mountain. I'm going to have a mound. And then that idea goes down to the Cossack Mountains. And they're like, well, we got mountains. So they made it a mountain in a sense, and also a mound. And then it goes down to, Iraq, and they're like, we don't really have mountains. We have hills, so we'll make it a hill and a sort of mountain. And then it goes to Egypt, and they have mountain ideas, but they're like, yeah, but really they relate more to more smaller, like a mound. So, but to me, it's just an evolution of all this stuff, and it all relates. So that's why the Americas are making it for a mound or for the Axis Mundi, where in Iraq they're making it kind of for a mountain, Siberia kind of for a mountain, up in Ukraine it's like hills. You know what I'm saying? So everybody's kind of, but it's really kind of like all the similar stuff, but people relate it to their own area. Anyways.
So to simplify it in like a number line type way, it starts with Earth diver mythology, and
correct.
then mound / hill.
I'll make it simple. It starts with Earth diver mythology that actually is from Siberia. If you look at Lake Baikal, it has this island, this little, it's super deep, right? It looks like it's just coming from up out of the earth, which is where I think, and it has two mounds. Because both Egypt and Samaria and Iraq, their mound of creation had two mounds, and in the middle is the sun, which is also the Trinity. Ha ha ha. So to me, it has two mounds. It comes out, and I think that is where, in a sense. And also, we know Earth diver mythology went over to the Americas at least 3 different versions. The first version doesn't have a turtle. Anybody can make the mound of creation, any animals. I don't know if you know the story. So the story is that animals build up mud or whatever, but several of them try and fail in the story. And they build the mound, and then the mound, and it's, by the way, not a turtle. So the first version. So it's not a turtle. They just build the mound and together, and then that is where all land comes. It grows and becomes all land. Just so you understand. So in the first version, the theme of the version is the weakest, the most unlikely animal is the one that actually saves the world by making the land. Everybody else tries and fails. There's a whole bunch of different animals, whatever, birds, this, that. They all try, but they can't reach the bottom of the ocean to get the mud to make the earth, right? So that's the first version. It also shows a very shamanistic influence, because shamans care about the weak and the ones that have differences. Like if you have a bad eye or a bad arm, or you're, say you were, I can't remember what it's called now, like Asperger's or some sort of a
neurodivergent.
Right, neurodivergent. Yeah. To them, any difference was special because everybody else, the norm in a sense, is all this and boring, but you're special and different. Yeah. Shamanism's mentality that then you had magical abilities or could do it, because you're special. Out of all of us, there's fewer of you. I know that to us in our culture that seems bizarre, but I'm just saying in the shaman culture, they really liked the weak because they were the few in a sense, sort of. So
have you ever read any Sapolsky?
No.
I
try to read like data on the actual like shaman cultures.
Yeah.
I don't like reading interpretations of things, just so you know. Same with philosophy. I haven't read any philosophers. What I do is I read what is reason, what is epistemology, what is axiology. I read 5 college books on axiology, not 5 people's opinion about what it is. See what I'm saying? I mean, just for me, everyone's different. Yeah. I do not like being influenced by other people's opinions. I want to, what in the fuck is the data? And then from the data, I will make a speculation that's very small.
Fair enough.
He
wrote
so you
something.
understand how I think.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
people will say, do I read anybody? Nope.
Yeah.
But I have read, say, 10,000 articles on things and have read like 4 or 5 books on shamanism. But even then, I like to know, because they'll say, shamanism in Siberia, and they'll give this broad thing, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but that's only accurate to the Asian shamanism, because I know that. Because you know why I know that? I read every single different Asian culture and realized, oh, that's what it is. But the QDNA, which is the Siberian originals, because they've been there 30,000 years, not the other people that have only been there 10,000, at the most 12,000, or crazy most, maybe 15 or 16, but on the east side, not anywhere on the west side. But my point is, that culture is not the same. The Ket people, which relates QDNA, which is 95% of South America, their shamanism, they don't have just one. They have like 7 kinds of shamans. See what I'm saying? So because you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I was. That's why I brought Sapolsky up, because he said something that kind of mirrored what you were talking about. How the person in the village who was seen as special was likely to become the shaman. Like that those people, their presence made life more enjoyable. It made it more interesting,
and you're
more
talking
variable.
Robert Sapolsky. I watched 2 videos of his. I think he's brilliant. I don't agree with everything he said, because he doesn't believe that humans have any kind of free will. I don't think it's free the way people think about it, but I do not agree with Sam Harris or with him that we don't have something. Wrong.
I'm a compatibilist myself.
First off, to me, every time they quote that study that proves that we don't have it, I go, that is dog shit. I took a psychology class on how to do studies, and that would fail. They would have to go, here's our data, and they would say, okay, you need to do more studies. Don't make any claims. Don't make any claims, because first off, it only had a 60% accuracy level. That's barely above just guessing.
Yeah.
So to give 100% claim, there is no free will off of this study that only has 60% accuracy. Not only that, it asked like an A and B kind of question, which is not an emotional or a moral question. I want to hear moral questions, and then you get it right. And I want to hear not A or B, just 2 choices, which is fucking guessing. It would be dog shit of a study. They would have looked at that study and gone, yeah, that study's not accurate. Let me see 10 things. How about 100? Out of 100 choices, you get it right 60% of the time, I'll be more impressed.
Yeah.
And if it's moral questions, because aren't you saying people can't make moral choices? You made a moral argument off of a non-moral test. Get the fuck out of here. What the fuck? I mean, my opinion, just so you understand, my opinion.
I don't think anybody knows for sure whether it's free will or whether it's deterministic.
Well,
I think
so it is accurate. We know all kinds of other things. So I said they're talking about what the study he took. Okay, but that study cannot be in by itself, correct? It also has to be with the neuroscience. It also has to be with the psychology. It also has to be with other kinds of studies, and then you get the big picture. So you don't blind yourself, like I said before, and get a accuracy, but it's not even the bullseye. You have a grouping outside of something, doesn't mean it's the actual bullseye. So to me, because think of this, they have studies, they know that a judge that goes into work and is hungry has a whole bunch of people they put, like say in jail or a lot of things after they eat. Oh, they're freeing people, they're doing. So the fact shows that we are influenced, not we don't have anything. So my thing was always that we don't have this free will. To me, it's like, think of it this way. If you think we have 100% free will all the time, you're wrong as fuck.
Yeah.
Now, because
Yeah.
I feel that sometimes we have 20%, sometimes 30%. You get angry, right? You get emotional hijacking. Emotional hijacking took over. Now you don't have 100%. Fuck, you might have 10 or 20%, right? And we say that a person committed suicide or, committed murder, and it was because of, emotional things. We are saying that there is a difference sometimes in our will.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways. So
No, I'm a compatibilist. I think, it's a little bit of both.
So that's how I see it. But anyway, so going back to this thing. So this shows also that the different things in Europe also mixed. And the DNA, one goes to the Middle East, right? One went through, Kazakhstan and into Ukraine. So everybody is mixing. So there's no pure European.
Mm-hmm.
So racists are stupid. So let's go to the next picture.
Yeah, racial purity in general is dumb because nobody has it.
Right, and this shows what Europe was, right? Europe was dark skin. That's that dark thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so the one over in Asia, the light purple, that's the white skin alleles. And if you notice that those things have to get into Europe, they're not from Europe. So when people think that the white skin is like, home in Europe, and it was home in Siberia, and then it migrated to Europe, and it didn't even migrate in a clean way, as you see here. So also, you're not any kind of clean white, because if you notice, it's all over the fucking place, which is reality. Because it's going to different, it's shooting over to one, and that shoots over to another who has a little bit different, and they shoot over to another, and then it goes also down to the Middle East, right? And then, but they have people down there already, so that blends and makes a little bit different, and that goes to Europe. And then people, like I told you, the Asian branch, they go to Sweden and stuff within, which is not European. Yeah. And then they also add some kind of a white, which then blends with the other people. Yeah. So anyways, let's go on. Racism is stupid as shit. So, and this right here graph is showing how everyone was dark in a sense from Africa. And then before they split with Europeans and Asians, who are both white, by the way, because if you're going to say white skin, they both have it. That's what the thing yellow part is. One is European and one branch is Asian, and they both have light skin or white skin, whatever you want to call it. So it started, as you see, variants of light getting lighter, not light, but slowly getting, before they even broke into two different DNAs. And then those DNAs also turned light skin, but independent of each other. Anyways, but then the graphs are showing how distributed they are. They're quite distributed, and the reason why, even though they both come from that area of Siberia, southern Siberia, they have migrations. People thought it's just because of like equator or whatever, and everybody turned because of the equator. No, everyone turned because of Siberia, and then Siberia went all over the whole earth, and then that's why everybody, in a sense, where they went, turned light. Because just think, how is South America so light, and yet Africa and Australia are dark when they're both at the same level? Why? Because it has to do with migration, not just area. Let's move on. Racism is stupid.
Yeah, I think we really should hammer that point home.
Yeah, you're wrong. Need it. Stupid. Because I know there's this one racist trying to tell me he's a Christian. I can't remember, Christian identityist or something. I had to look it up. I was like, what the fuck is that? Well, Christian identityist is that the white people of the Nordic are the real Jews or the people of Israel, and they're actually the chosen race and all this. Oh, yeah. So I was like, what are you talking about? I sent him this thing and like, you're wrong. Because he's like, oh, the people that are in Israel now, they're not the real Jews. I'm like, there's a problem. I know DNA. That's wrong. Because both the Palestinians and the people of Israel, no matter what people think they came from, those people's DNA is the fucking same. They are Canaanites. They have 50 to say 75 or so % Canaanite DNA, which is the DNA that you're talking about. But yeah. So Austin, read more.
Yeah, I'm being told to read more. I always will. I always do.
Well,
My reading list is never
I
ending.
both feel that I am a teacher and a learner.
Yeah.
Anyone who thinks they have stopped learning, I don't really want to listen to, because that's not a wise.
Fair enough. 100%.
Not a wise person. Something else too. I try to do often, by the way. I have been wrong about things. Usually it's not like major things. It's like one little detail or something. I immediately say, "Yeah, okay, cool." I don't fight it. It doesn't bother me. I don't get ego involved. Why? Do I care about the truth or my fucking ego? The truth.
Same.
So I feel like people that even are resistant, or you got to worry if you tell them they're going to get mad, that's a person that cares about ego over the truth. I don't like listening to those kind of people. Like I said, I told you, I don't like other people's opinions, especially because most of them are ego-driven. And the reason why ego is wrong, just understand, okay, it's not just a personality thing to me. What it means is you probably don't check your own ideas. You don't test them. You don't support them. You protect them. Not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the skin color relates to the genome. Yes, it relates to, like, the ones in Europe are female is where it came from, and it's R1b. Okay, and so it's R1bA goes to the Cossack Mountains, and R1b goes to, like I said before, Lithuania and the Baltics and all that. First, but that's not who turned everybody white. Just those people were white. They had blonde hair, red hair, whatever. Because they had blonde hair in the Baltic about 11,000 years ago. DNA shows. Anyways, let me go back to this right here, the picture. So this is showing, once again, a whole bunch of back migrations besides the one that we already looked at. Remember, that brought in the art. That's the blue thing. That blue thing that came in, or a blue thing on this picture, that's the one that brought the art. Okay,
that was the one that was
art
like,
seems to be in the similar area that one went, to be more accurate. How's that?
That was the one that was like peach colored up
Correct.
in the
or
area.
Pink, the pink that came down from Siberia or whatever, through Israel and all that. So that's what the blue is. Okay, so but that's not the only one that came in. So you also have the red one is the next one, which is R1b V88. And R1BV88, it brought in with them the idea of God.
Okay. So animism, totemism, shamanism
turns in the Middle East, turns into paganism. It starts as goes from hunting cult to herding cult, and then it goes, and so herding cult is about 11, 12,000. Then by about 9,000 to 8,000, that's agriculture cult.
Okay.
Agriculture cult ends up taking over, and everyone knows paganism now as agriculture cult, because the agriculture cult gods were more defined, male and female and stuff, as the Sky Father and the Earth Mother, just so you understand what I'm talking about. So, but that I don't see before, just understand, herding cult was about constellations in a sense. So not all of them, by the way. I'm not just like in the hunting that was called the cosmic hunt cult, which is the hunting cult in a sense. It had horned animals in space or whatever in sky and bears, and they would kill them as a sacrifice in a sense to the thing. And they would also, like, shamans would also, once it met totemism, shamanism started doing the hunting cult, but they would collect the bear penis bones as I think probably some kind of a magic ritual wand thing or something. Anyway, beside the point. When paganism starts in at least probably hunting cult, but definitely herding cult. And I think herding cult didn't start in herding. It started in hunting, sacrificing animals to the sky. And then they decided to collect animals or start to manage their range or their thing, right? Not totally domesticated yet, but managing them. Then that becomes herding cult. but I think it relates to religion. I feel why? Because they are doing feasts. So they all get together and they have these big parties and they worship stuff or whatever. And they're killing animals and eating them as a feast. And also because they think certain horned animals are special, just like the goat and the sheep. And by the way, when the goat and the sheep were being worshipped at the herding cult, they would have had like gigantic horns. If you look at the ones where it came from, I think this is hard for me because when I had a concept of sheep, I see sheep with no horns, right?
Yeah.
That's how I see sheep. Not that they look like freaking like huge, like they're huge.
Yeah.
So, anyways, my point is the wild ones. So, and there's a lot of art and stuff that starts being worshipped. But my point though is, but the hunting and herding cult had the great hunter in the sky, who's real close to the Milky Way, which remember was the path of the souls.
Mm.
So the first stuff, and then of course, then he's chasing the animals, and he has dogs, right? So there's that, but it's not like every single constellation. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The people's concept, like, 12 constellations. They didn't have 12 constellations.
You know what? It's funny because I am often told by creationists that evolution is a pagan religion. And it's like, dude, no.
No.
Doesn't your own religion evolve from paganism? And the answer is basically kind of right. Yeah.
Well, so everything came from animism. It's like Legos. So paganism is not animism. It is animism. It's animism, totemism, shamanism, paganism, but they're like blocks, like Legos. It's paganism is all of it. And then what we call organized religion is like another thing on top of paganism. That's it. It still has all the similar stuff. They just made it a little bit different.
Yeah.
The focus is a little bit different. Anyways, so let's go. This shows the migrations, whatever, and you see that people went around. Not horny for sheep, yeah. Well, I don't know. Well, just so you know, kings, I don't know about everybody, so I think that they had a general practice that you shouldn't fuck animals.
Right.
I was saying, but it was a practice of kings to be buried with a horse. They often would fuck the horse.
Oh, wow.
And then they would sacrifice it.
Oh, that's
they're
intense.
fucking the horse because they're taking the power or they're blending with the god or goddess.
Oh.
So, but anyways, yeah.
Yikes.
And there's actually art of them fucking the horse, but also a culture thing of the king. Anyways, next picture. And so this is a picture that shows Africa migrations of the R going to Lake Chad, which relates to Chadic languages, which is a branch of Afro-Asiatic, and also relates to, in a sense, to the Egyptian language in an offset.
Right. So not only is the population evolving and their architecture evolving and their mythology evolving, but the languages are also evolving.
Yes, the language, absolutely. And they're connected to DNA movements. We know this. So the first thing, though, actually wasn't the R DNA. First people that came in were J1. So that's what not the top picture that shows the migration in, but the second one, that's actually the first one, really. But so the first one comes in, and I think they relate to see in the Middle East, J1 was domesticating cattle 10,000 years ago. They come into Africa 10,000 years ago. And amazingly enough, Africa, in North Africa, where they went, domesticates independently, they call it, the cattle also. But I don't know how independent it is when literally the DNA of the people that domesticated cows in the Middle East comes in your area, and then afterwards you make the cow.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So anyways, but they don't so much relate to all the languages. I don't know which they do, because certainly R relates to Chadic, which is part of Afro-Asiatic. And so Afro-Asiatic also relates to Semitic, just so people know. And Egyptian is like the ancestor before Semitic in a sense. It's almost Semitic. It's not, but it's, yeah. So people were feeding large groups, required reliable source. Yes, which would make herding more natural, which, like I said, the great herder in the sky. Once people realized, I think the gods game became more personified from the sense spirits of shamanism because of kind of what you're saying. Once we start doing this behavior of controlling animals, we realize, hey, we're kind of powerful,
Yeah.
like gods.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's when animals inspired for us to be more, in a sense, hierarchical and to see
the great chain of
like
being,
anthropomorphic, in a sense, things to be like us. Anyways, so, but this also shows that the Chadic stuff, the white, shows the Chadic stuff goes back to Egypt. So the stuff from Chadic area does absolutely influence early Egypt. See, to me, Egypt, people try to say, well, Egypt is just Africa all by itself. Wrong. First off, JDNA probably had some influence because there was also cattle cult before that, and they did pre-domestication of cattle, which probably relates to the J people who did cattle. And they also have some other stuff that relates culture-wise to J. I don't know all the stuff, but some of the stuff. Anyways, right off the top of my head. But so J sort of had some influence on Egypt. So J does. R also does, but in a non-direct way. In other words, like it's not like the Graham Hancock, oh, white people showed up and taught them how to build pyramids. No. White people, if you want to call it that, went to the Chadic area and turned black or blackish because they didn't, they're having sex with people there that are black. Amazing what that happens. But anyway, so you don't end up with white people. Yeah. Especially after a lot of years, like hundreds of fucking years doing this. Yeah. Anyways, but I'm just making a point. So it's not, so it's non-white, it's or mixed people. It's certainly non-white. Goes over to the the Nile, and which is near both places, near sort of where they have the Nubians, people call it, right? And there's a lot of pro-African, whatever, people are like, everyone's a Nubian. Well, Nubians got mixed DNA from R and J from Lake Chadic. Okay. Who also in Lake Chadic did make sort of pyramid structures and almost like a Sphinx structure and have the oldest boat. Anyways, besides the point. So, but those went over and had influence. So J has influence, R has influence. Of course, people that were black in Chadic area also, their ideas have influence then on the Nile and on Nubia. So, but then also people, Semitic speakers from, Israel and from the Middle East and from Siberia. Trying to think. What's it? Oh. Anyways, from the Middle East. Here, I can't even talk to my head right now. I know the landmass. I just can't think of what it is. But anyways, but at least Israel, right? So those Semitic ideas and stuff but it's not just Israel. That's all I'm trying to say. It's larger than that. So it's not just Israel gave it to them. Semitic. There's but anyways, that general area comes in also. So it's R, it's E, because that's who it was that came back in, because E was already there, but it left, and then it came back with new ideas. So it's E, it's R, it's J, who gave influence, plus Africa, who's over there, which would have, I think it's AOO or something. I can't remember now. But anyways, but it's African ideas. So it has from more Central Africa. So not just from the Nile. So get my point. It's not like just emerged. Africans emerged from the Nile area or something. That's inaccurate. Yes, there's people from there too. So I'm not saying that it's not. I'm just saying when you think of Egypt, you need to think of like multiple cultures made Egypt of ideas, not one people gave it just from that area. That's wrong. Anyways, I'm just trying to show you that there's no pure ideas.
Yeah.
And ideas kept coming in and kept evolving. And then even when they went to areas, those areas evolved and went backwards, you know,
Yeah.
and then also gave influence. Let's go to the next picture.
I picture it almost like a big bag of Scrabble tiles that you're just shaking it up and drawing stuff out of it.
Right. And then the people from I already told you, the JDNA and the R1B V88, not the E, but E does affect these, but they go the eastern route. They don't go to Central Africa. But yes, so even E is not on this. I'm not showing it on here, but even E is evolved in all this. All these people have E too, because they get it from Eastern Africa. The Horn of Africa is E, and then down to South Africa. All this is E. So, but not really the West Africa. West Africa has J, or Central Africa has J and has R, and those cultures both, not just one. So not just white people or whatever, not just one. Plus, it was from the Middle East, but they go to right here, and it's the Congo, not Congo, Cameroon. So, and then Cameroon, this is what's called the Bantu language expansion, which the Bantu have gods and stuff, and sort of shamanism, totemism. Of course, they got it from probably R, and if not a little bit from J. And then they take those ideas, and then they spread them all over the Congo and down to Southern Africa. So that's why I like this drum thing. They didn't invent. China is the oldest drum, and China went to Siberia, and Siberia went to Ukraine, and Ukraine goes to the Cossack Mountains, and the Cossack Mountains goes down to Iraq, and then Iraq influences, say, Israel or whatever, the Middle East, and then the Middle East influences, Egypt, and then and then Egypt, in a sense, from there goes to Africa. So I'm just my point is that once again, all this stuff is moving around, and like you said before, it's like reality. It just keeps evolving, just like the DNA and haplogroup split and evolve, split and evolve, split and evolve. And even this is showing that it's not just one thing, right? It goes out, but then it starts splitting and evolving, and the ones by the lake are different than the ones that go south, and are different than the ones in the west, a little bit different than the ones in the east, because things evolve.
All
I would
about
agree.
this.
Most of the people that think pyramids are made by one culture, one supreme culture, blah blah. Almost to me, yes, I have a thing that says it's the idea. Atlantis is the idea of races. It's the creation myth of races. Every time someone says Atlantis, it's like, oh fuck.
Oh God, yeah. Here we go again.
I'm like, oh well, there could have been one culture. I go, dude, I know the DNA. That is horseshit. Done. Well, white people could have gone. They didn't. Done. See? Great.
Always, Maya. Always.
Party's over. Exactly. Party's over. Your shit's a lie. Now fucking learn science and move on. Okay. And culture. I'm showing you both DNA and culture migrations and religious ideas. I'm trying to explain because it's all really related. It's not. There's not separate. It's all part of evolution and all evolved. Let's go on. Next picture. Right, and here we are, Atlantis, the fake story, because the story was an allegory, meaning, in a sense, to understand that when they wrote the story, Plato wrote the story of Atlantis. Atlantis was like those people didn't follow the gods, and because they didn't, and they got real opulent ways and tried to be special, kind of like the Tower of Babel, sort of. Special and stuff, that they got punished by the gods, they say. But we need to Athens, because that's what they thought was the one that against Atlantis. Athens has to be follow the gods and keep their ways or whatever, anyways, and then they'll be blessed or whatever. So first off,
get plunged into the sea like Atlantis was.
Right, correct. So first off, that's horseshit. Also, that there is no island out there. This one person tried to show me this one map, right? What? But so this one person tried to show me a map today and argue with me about Atlantis. First, I wasn't gonna argue because I feel it's so stupid. I just told him it's wrong. Yeah, it's wrong. I don't. How much do I need to say it's wrong? There is no such thing. Atlantis was never a real thing. The person that wrote it did not believe it was a real thing. Why the fuck are you looking for it?
It's kind of like looking for Narnia, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. Looking for where Superman has his ice crystal house in wherever, you know. What the fuck? It's like I told this one guy when he said, "Well, Damien, there's different floods in the world," and I said, "You do realize they always call it the Great Flood.
Mm-hmm.
It is not related to every flood in the world. So the Great Flood is a Earth diver mythology."
Mm-hmm.
Because the world used to be water world, and then the world got destroyed for generally because things are not great. Generally, the people did it as a punishment, but not always. But the world gets destroyed in the Great Flood, and then the mound of creation again, just like the little tugboat, you know, of Noah ends up back on a mountain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Top of the mountain, because everything else was water, right? Mm-hmm. Right, like the mound of creation redone, you know, like reincarnation. Anyways, it's that's why I'm saying to think you should look for the Great Flood to me is like saying we need to look for the center of the world where the cosmic mountain is.
Yeah.
Or say where exactly is the turtle's back that the earth is on.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Do you not get this is mythology?
Right.
The same thing with Atlantis. It's not real. It's like looking for the fucking earth turtle.
Yeah.
So, one person said white supremacy. Hell the fuck yes. Because it's almost always that Atlantis was white people.
Mm-hmm.
And if you notice, they went and taught everyone. And that's why there's pyramids, Damien. I'm like, that's bullshit.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure people could figure out stacking bricks without some magical Atlanteans' help. But
right, but even in Egypt, they say the reason we're building the stacking of bricks is because of the mythology of the mound of creation.
Right.
In fact, if you look up Egyptian mythology, there's I think 4 versions of their mythology because each area had, in a sense, on the Nile, each major city had its own version. Mm-hmm. But the one thing they have in common is every single one of them has the mound of creation, meaning that is really the myth theme that mattered. And then they say these pyramids are the mound of creation. And then later, when they made the pyramids that looked like sharp things, this is because the first pyramids were step pyramids, by the way. Then they made the sharp-sided pyramids, and the thing on top, the little pyramid on top of the pyramid, they considered a Bowden stone. The Bowden stone is a representation of the mound of creation. So to say they build it because it stacked rocks away, wrong. Yes, they stacked rocks, but the reason they stacked the rocks is because of the mound of creation. The mound of creation in the story is the first land. When you rebuild it, you're making a reincarnation machine in a sense, or you're worshiping the thing. Yeah. So this right here, Dad, go back.
Show me a graph about it. It was like mound or no earth diver.
I already showed you. Do you want me to try to show you again?
No. I'm just trying to make sure I remember it correctly. It's like
we all can look at a picture. I drew art of this. So
is it on the slides?
I don't know if you put it on the slides.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I did.
But
here, I'll Messenger.
Can you share what I just gave you?
In Messenger?
No, I put it. Well, I can put it in Messenger too. I put it in where it says share. I'll put it in message too.
Oh, you have it. Oh, okay.
Here's.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yes.
Here, I'll give you. There's one of them. I'll give you the other one. Because so the evolution of both these things, of the pyramids and in a sense Mesopotamia and in Egypt, follow similar stuff because they're really similar mythology. Not exact, and their purpose and use are not the same, but I don't care about that. I care about why they're sort of building these things.
Mm-hmm.
And so also the arrows show that the way that the ideas are going. So the ideas go Mesopotamia into Egypt, and then it goes from Mesopotamia into Egypt. Then I believe Egypt takes that step idea that was not occurring exactly in the same way with the ziggurats. They didn't really look like pyramids. Some people call them that, but if you look at them, not really. But Egypt did make the step pyramid. But then the Babylonians, not Sumerians, but the Babylonians do make a step pyramid. In fact, the Mount of Creation and Axis Mundi, center of the world, is a step pyramid. And then Egypt, its hieroglyph for the step pyramid is literally a the Mount of Creation at that time turns into a step pyramid. I'll show you that picture too. It's not disconnected is my point.
Yeah.
This stuff, like people think like, oh, they evolved. No, it's similar ideas. Yes, they do it a little bit different, but the mytheme or the basic concept is not different. And also it wasn't 100% to me Mesopotamia ideas just going into Egypt. Here, I just gave you the one that shows the symbol, the hieroglyph symbol for, go ahead and show it. The hieroglyph symbol for Egypt is a step pyramid at that point.
Can you put it into the share? I can actually share it easier that way than I can getting it from Messenger, my bad.
The one that says present, you mean I did?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just trying to show you that it starts out as a mound, and then I think Egypt turns it from a mound. They stack the madrasas on top of each other, multiple madrasas, and that equals a step pyramid.
Okay.
I just sent.
Yeah.
There, good. So, and then you notice Babylonians, its center of the world then goes from not a mountain to all of a sudden it's a step pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and also another thing, not just that, they have eDNA that goes into the Amorites and some into the Babylonians from Egypt. 5,000 years ago, eDNA leaves Egypt. Yeah, at the time that they were starting to do these ideas, goes out into Israel and into Syria and Lebanon, Jordan area, and then it goes down into Iraq. And to me, and when it does that too, all of a sudden, because Egypt made the first sort of empire. So city-states start in Iraq, but the idea goes to Egypt, who turns it into like empire. And then 5,000 years ago, empire goes back, and then Mesopotamia gets empire after the age of Egypt. So I think it is influenced in that way. And then, like I said, also that would make sense because they go from a mountain is the center of the universe to all of a sudden the Babylonians who take over the Sumerians are now, or whatever, now are saying, no, the center of the world is not a mountain. It is a mound of creation still, but now the mound of creation is step-like, like a step pyramid, which is the Mayans also believe the center of the world is a step pyramid. But anyway, so you can go. I show you one of the pyramids themselves. I'll show you. So, like I said, when people think that these ideas are just people building rocks, no, there's religion behind it. It's not, and it's not just individual. Like every culture makes its own religion. No, that's not accurate either. This stuff is shared ideas. Religion is a cultural product. There, take that picture. That shows the evolution of both.
Yes, this is the one I was talking about.
This shows the evolution of ziggurats, how we get from a sort of a madrasa thing, similar to Egypt, and then the sort of a madrasa with a little temple on top, and then Egypt up someone and makes a step pyramid, and then they get the ziggurat with the Sumerians, but then the next thing after that, the Babylonians, which is not on this page, is a step pyramid. Now they're making stuff that looks like Egypt. But then Egypt, of course, even steps up their game, because then they make pointed pyramids. But all this is an evolution, and all these are shared ideas, but all of them are kind of the mountain of creation. That ziggurat is God, the mountain of God, and the temple on top is like Zeus, where God lives, sort of, in a sense. But that's the same thing when it was just a temple on top of that platform. But also it was the same thing when it was just a platform. It was the mountain of creation, or the first land. And then that people would go on top of it and probably worship, pray, whatever, and with the spirits and gods. Are you gone?
I'm listening. I'm just, my cat is annoying me, so I'm taking care of it for the bowl.
But anyway, so this stuff is, and of course also the Sumerian stuff is more like the mountain of God, and they're worshiping, and where the madrasa is like a burial, the step pyramid's a burial, the pointed pyramid's a burial. So they're not doing the exact same thing with their mountain of creation concept. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
One is almost like Mount Olympus, every version of it, sort of, where the other one is mound of creation, where they bury people so they can be reborn in the afterlife, sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But they're both about the mountain of creation. It's just, it's different. Because I've had an Egyptologist, tell me, well, Damien, they're doing different stuff. I'm like, yeah, doing different stuff for the same concept. Mm-hmm. So, and I, like I said, also, I'm not saying they're doing the exact same stuff. Anyways, so, but it's important. I mean, it's important to understand this, and I'll show you another picture too.
Okay.
Let me get it. It's migrations. Why things are the way they are. So it gets to the Americas, right? Because Graham Hancock, white people went to the Americas. No, they did not. We know that for absolute fact with the DNA.
Yeah.
So, wrong. No, people from Siberia went to Europe, white people. And people went from Siberia over to the Americas. That's why the ideas are similar. Not because, here, I'll show you this picture first. My opinion. So this is, I think all these things, shell mounds, step mounds, kurgans, dolmens, platform mounds, even down at the bottom in the right-hand corner is the Mongolian and Turkic, whatever people, they're building mounds in stones. We have Christians also in the Bible talk about people building stone mounds or little stone like altars or whatever. Yeah, all this shit is related. Mm-hmm. So it's not that, one culture taught everybody. Several cultures, several different DNAs, several different times, for similar mythological reasons, built this stuff. Mm-hmm. They didn't give each other.
And this is a little off topic, but I think it's a good tangent, because I had never heard of Graham Hancock until we met. And because I met you and I heard your information first,
right?
Very unlikely that I'm going to believe anything that comes out of that guy's mouth. Probably wouldn't have anyways, but it's a good example of how education can be an inoculation against misinformation.
Totally. But if you had, to me, yes, I think even it's just, I'm a rationalist, just so you know, so you understand. Mm-hmm. I do things different. So a skeptic starts with doubt, or here's an idea and doubts immediately. I don't do that. I hear the information and I assess it. Does it meet the criteria, quality needed for this thing? And I do sort of, by the way, even though I have a philosophy, it's not because I read Plato and Socrates. I actually did not. I don't even follow their stuff. Really, I have my version of my wife's thinking, in a sense. And my wife is a natural logician. I'm a natural rationalist, in a sense. But she's a logician. Just understand how I break things down to think. That is one way. I take things and I make them in steps. Bing, 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 bing. Okay. Mm-hmm. without someone teaching me this. That's how she thinks the logical big picture. Like I'll say something, she'll go, that's not logical. Whereas to me, I don't get to that. I get that didn't have the qualities and thus isn't reasonable in a sense. But I have to assess the qualities where she's able to just do it faster than me in a sense. But anyways, going back to what I was trying to say. So my wife didn't teach me this. So what I'm going to say is I call it the hammer of truth. Just to understand, it's 3 philosophies used in order that will literally destroy or build ideas. That's why it's a hammer in a sense. So it is ontology first and always, and then epistemology, and then axiology. And I'll explain why. It's her thinking that I realized and turned into philosophy in a sense. She does it like in a fucking second or like a very, very quickly. But I can't do that. I have to take steps to grasp the same concept. We reach, in a sense, almost the same conclusion, but we do it differently. I need more. But the good thing, though, is everybody else needs more steps, too. So my tool of philosophy, how I do it, that I need actually works for everybody. I've seen people take my thing in a very short time. I have videos that explain this, by the way, and I break stuff down of how to do it. So you always do ontology. Ontology, when you say something like you say claim, right? So I don't start with skepticism. I'm a rationalist. It has to be rational, period. Even skepticism has to be rational. You get to it because it's rational to be skeptical. I don't start. How would I know I need to start with skepticism? Maybe I don't. Anyways, that's my thing. So I'm just making a comment. People say, "Oh, you're a skeptic." No, I'm a rationalist. I'm not attacking skepticism. It's good. It's actually good if you're not as good at thinking. If you're super good at thinking, rationalism is better. Better really is like my wife, be a logician. That's even better thinking. But I can't think that high, that fast. I can think that high, but I need steps. Anyways.
Is there a word for somebody who just doesn't fully commit to any one philosophy, but takes and uses parts of all of them? Because I feel like I'm somewhere between.
Wise. Well, that goes back to being wise. Wise is a interdimensional thing.
Okay.
Someone who is wise, because some people, like my wife, she hasn't read no philosophy books. She can't even explain it the way but she can tell you what's right and wrong, like in a way, and then come up with ideas of why it is. I'm like, how the fuck do you do that? But anyways, I can't. So, but I have understood. I've lived with her 20 years. So I have taken, because I listened. Why? Why do you do that? Why'd you ask that? Why do you say that? Because I'm like, I would never come up with the questions you do. How do you come up with questions like that? But then I realized that what she's doing and turn into philosophy. So what she does, her first thing always is the ontology. So let me explain to you. So you say God is real. And my first thought is, what is a God? That's an ontology question. You need to define it. And you say, well, God is a spirit. And I say, what is a spirit? Because you offered something new. Now I have to start at step 1, ontology again. I can't even go to epistemology. How? You need to define that.
Yeah.
Well, a spirit is a being, that's supernatural. What is supernatural? Now you have to define. You've just offered a new thing again. Supernatural is something outside of nature. Wait a minute. I don't know of anything outside of nature.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't even. You have to give me a good ontology. In other words, if I say that something is a chair, right? What is the ontology of a chair? Is a table that you sit on? Is that a chair? If I sit on the hood of a car, is that a chair? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, it is not. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
A good ontology has to be what the thing is, its qualities, its attributes that are accurate to that thing. You know what you realize real quick? No one can define God. There's one guy kicked me out of a philosophy group for just using my wife's concept of ontology to attack things. He could not defend God. He goes, well, no one can answer that question, Damien. I go, then why are you making claims about a thing that you just said no one can define?
Right?
kicked my ass right out of that philosophy.
Yeah.
I thought, I kicked out of a philosophy group for using philosophy.
Yeah, right.
Right. So the ontology is, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Then the next step to me is epistemology. If you give me a good, your chair is a thing with legs and a back generally, but does a chair always have to have a back?
No.
Because see, if it doesn't, what is it called? A stool,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is a stool is not a chair. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
How you start to get accuracy, and when you demand accuracy, people will fail. I would say 80% of the time that every single claim that most people make would fucking fail if you did nothing more than just demand a good ontology.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, people are like, well, I don't really know. Well, then why are you making claims?
Yeah.
So if they do happen to give me, which is rare, a good ontology, or if I'm just kind-hearted and I let a semi-ontology come to me, then we move to epistemology, which is how do you know what you just fucking said? Right? Or how do you know what you said? So the first thing is, what are you talking about? The next thing is, how do you know that? And the third thing is, why is what you just offered even of value? And that's what I said. So you offered me nothing. Why are you making a claim? Because I'm value judging that you don't know where it comes from or have a right to claim it. And you don't give me a good explanation of what the thing is. I can judge that's worthless.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I'm actually an agnostic with an I and not an agnostic at all. Because you have never defined what a God is for me to even take it serious.
Yeah. No, that's a fair point.
Right? so
You can't even know what I'm agnostic about if you can't define it. Yeah.
Right. And so also to me, and when people are like, well, you don't understand there's different gods. And I'm like, well, actually I do. So let me show you what I understand about different gods. So first off, like I was telling you that I think that in a sense, deities were created in the Middle East. And the reason that, and that relates to I think the great hunter as one of the first DNAs or deities, because the hunter has, in a sense, where or has a penis. Some people call it the belt or whatever. Yeah, it looks more like in the area of his dick than a belt.
Mm-hmm.
And also the first figures were, in a sense, they were, naked men standing with the fucking penis. And the erect penis in the god Min, which is one of the oldest, in a sense, in Egypt, has an erect penis. I just shared the first ones, I think. And also, you notice they're all in one similar area. So it's a cultural shared idea. And if you notice too, I didn't do the circle around where all these figurines, 1, 2, 3, whatever, all of them relate to those little dots, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some are in the sheep domestication. And then the purple circle is not circling around them. That purple circle is cattle domestication. So if you notice, they really hone in on cattle domestication.
Mm-hmm.
So cattle religion, which is a lot of cattle in early religion. And it has to do, I think, with the sacrifice and the herding cult turning into the stuff. And so you have all these different 11,500, 10,000, 11,000, all these guys holding their penis. But that is similar to the 12,000 number one, which started with the sheep, not the cow, because the sheep is older, 11,000, and it's only 10,500 for the cow being domesticated. But of course, like I told you, there was proto-management before that. So it wasn't like magic, it just fucking happened. It evolved.
You know what this makes me picture? This makes me picture like a modern artist, like struggling, like I'll never be as good as the great masters. And then Michelangelo's struggling with his granite sculpture. He's like, I'll never be as good as the great masters. And then there's some guy in the middle of Africa making a sculpture of a guy holding his dong, and he's like, I'm the greatest.
But like I told you, these ideas did go down. This right here, cattle, all these things, J1 DNA. and our DNA. Those two, J1 first goes in, makes the cattle in Africa. So they get these similar ideas. Well, yeah, they just got it. And then R1b V88 goes from this area, goes down into Africa, Lake Chad, and brings them these god, right? This is the sky god. So to me, the first deity was a sky father, which is later in the pagan stuff, sky father and a sky mother, not an earth mother. See, the sky mother gives birth to the dawn daughter, and the dawn daughter during the day and during the night goes into the hole in the ground. It becomes the pseudo earth mother. But then she gives birth to the twins and dies in childbirth. And when that happens, she's buried in the earth and goes to the underworld, but is still part of the earth. So she's the earth mother and the underworld thing, which has to do with the nighttime. Anyways, but so this is where it starts, right? So I'm not kidding. I'm just showing you. This is what I'll do another one. So that becomes, right, the sky, father and the earth mother. And I'm going to show you that migrated all over the world. Not invented separately, but shared ideas through migrations. Hold on, where's that at?
Yeah, it is. That second point is important to establish and make clear, because Christians, creationists, they'll try to say, humans all over the world, they figured out the truth independently because God is real. Exactly.
God is fake. Yeah. They used to think it was the hunter because they were doing the cosmic hunt, and then it turned into the herding cult, and that's when they more, I think, personified it as humans and less sky, more ground. But anyways, and then the Earth Mother directly, I think, is part of our culture cult emerging. So anyways, also the Earth Father, anything to do with Earth. So, but if you notice, right, so I have this mapped out as language families. Everything you see in a big color is not just Damien random did this. That literally is the language family. So you can see, and most of the language family has the deity arrangement that I gave it. So you understand everybody or most people, not everybody, but most people have these things. And where I showed you, I'm showing you which kind of deity they have. So Lake Baikal has a sky father and an earth mother. And then China has a sky father and earth mother, all the Chinese languages. Then India and Proto-Indo-European, down in India, is sky father, earth mother. In the Middle East, sky father, earth mother. In Egypt and North Africa, it's actually sky mother and earth father. And then over in Germany, in a sense, in some of the Nordic, it can be sky father, sky mother. And then over in Finland, it's sky father, earth mother. And over in more central northern Siberia, it is sky father, earth mother. And then over in far east Russia, which is still Siberia in a sense, you notice it's a sky father, earth mother. And then you go to the Americas, and in the Dane languages, you have sky father, earth mother. Oh, it's amazing that this stuff is, anyways.
Right.
Right. And then it's hard to see, but right in the middle, right there, what's that? Algonquin language. It's a sky mother and a sky father, remember, the language also has a mythology of the earth diver, where the sky mother falls to earth, or it's the daughter that falls to earth and then dies in childbirth of the twins, right? Which there's a bunch of stuff in European too about the twins, the divine twins, but which all over the Americas, they care about twins. But anyways, but that's where then she becomes the earth mother. So it's the sky mother's daughter becomes the earth mother. Anyways, but that's good to understand, because they also have, remember, they worship the sky father and the sky mother. So they don't have directly the Earth Mother. The Earth Mother is a child of the Sky Mother. Anyways, but then
can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
If is this like kind of descent mythology? Do you think that's related to like the sun falling?
You mean like during the day? How I think? Oh, yes,
Like
absolutely.
the sun setting, yeah.
Well, look here. Speaking of that, yes, there is a relation to that. I will remove that and show you a thing about the sun because yes, I know about that too. Yeah, well, I'll show you the moon first. So you can understand what I think about the moon, but real quick, because the moon is older. There is a evidence that they were tallying the moon 34,000 years ago. So I don't think it was. Once again, it was not a god. Gods invented in the Middle East about 12 to 13, or to 11,000 years ago.
Yeah,
and gods related to constellations next to the Milky Way, because the Milky Way was how you got to heaven, and it related to animals and the hunt because they were doing sacrifices of animals. Anyways, so yeah, it didn't. So people think that the Earth Mother is first. Earth Mother relates to agriculture. Agriculture did not get an Earth Mother till about 8,000 to 9,000. The most, I'll give you 10,000. Anything before that, yes, it relates to the sky and moon and stuff, but it wasn't a god. Okay, thank you. But it did relate to the phases, I think. The arms up is the new. Then you have the fat thing, which is the fat woman. Then you have the arms down, which is generally put in graves. Well, because it's the dying moon. Anyways, so we'll move on to the next one, just to understand. I know I'm probably saying a lot of things real fast, but I want to get you to the basic idea that this stuff is a cultural product, and it moved in cultural migrations. That literally is the answer. And then, of course, it evolved. Like, evolution is true all over the place in every freaking way.
Absolutely.
So I'm trying to find the sun to here to go.
There's 6 different types of evolution, Damien. You got cosmic evolution, and this stuff's not real. The only real one is microevolution. Hovind.
Wrong. Here, I go ahead and share that. That's the sun and the moon you're asking about. And yes, so they saw. Okay, so they saw the moon as separate deities depending on its phases. They saw the sun as separate deities depending on its phases. When they say like Mongolic, going back to Mongolic and Turkic belief, they believe in China also is Tan or Tangerine. That relates to, they call it the Great Sky, which also relates to Chi, which also relates to the sky spirit in the Americas. The Great Sky is the daytime sun, or the daytime sky, the blue sky. They'll even say we worship the whole blue sky. They don't worship the night sky or the morning sky or the evening sky. See what I'm saying? These are different things. And I've listed the different dawn deities and the different dusk deities to show there's a humongous amount, right? So I'm trying to show it's not, we think of it one sun. That is not how they thought of it. And yes, they did think that things were happening like they thought, like let's say some myths, that the sun at night is eaten by the Earth Mother Goddess, and in the morning she gives birth to a new child, in a sense. Anyways. Yeah, so, but and also so you can say I've shown that like, yes, the maiden, mother, and crone, I absolutely agree. That relates to the 3 stages because the moon was generally female, just like I've shown here. 52 of the deities that relate to the moon are female. 44 are male. Just so you know also that it's not 100% accurate to say it's all female. Oh, those fucking goddess worshippers are wrong.
Yeah.
Yes, some of your aspects are correct, but no, in general, you're kind of wrong. Because it's not, you notice that 44 that's a lot of fucking male. Now, I will say, you need to understand that female probably was first and the male seems to come after 7,000. Like I said, the female spirit was probably 34, where the male comes in sometime around after 7, maybe 6. So anything after 6 is very highly likely to have male deity. Anything before that is probably female, just so you know, too.
I tend to associate the moon with the female primarily because of the work of the poet Sappho. She wrote about the moon a lot. She had great, beautiful poems about the moon. One of my favorite pieces of poetry ever is from one of her poems about the moon, which goes, awed by her lovely splendor, even the stars cover their bright faces while the moon is near.
Right. And so another aspect people don't realize about deities, so we've already talked about these aspects that relate to what deities are doing, is they don't realize that there's high gods, low gods, and moralistic gods. So that's a different thing. But right before I show that, I want to show how sun and moon relates to all of it: animism, totemism, shamanism, paganism. They just see the world differently. That's all. But eventually, like I said, paganism is kind of like a grouped up version of everything else. But how they see the moon is different. See, like animism, they hunt when there's no moon. So they like the black moon, no moon. Totemism also is somewhat about the no moon, but they also believe in they worship the dualism, even including they probably thought there was a one being that was both bisexual, by gender, which really related to the moon, I think, being in half, or related to the day and the night of the sun bright in the day and the absolute black absence of the moon. So because that's when
I love the idea of a bigender deity. That's super woke.
Well, even animism actually believes that there's at least that has that at people. They believe that you get a male and female spirit. Everybody is two spirits.
Yeah.
You get a male and female spirit. From your father, you get a male spirit. From your mother, you get a female spirit. So every being is two-spirited. That's also why they believe you need to cut the foreskin off, because they believe you need to remove the female part of your body and then become a full man. What does it say? Can we see the pictures of moon goddesses? Asking for a friend.
He's making a joke, I think. I think he's saying the moon goddesses are hot.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, I want to focus though on yes, we could do that, but I want to focus on other stuff. So I'm going to focus on, like, let me show you real quick. This shows dual deities because people see them as like separate. No, that's not accurate. Even they're showing them here. These are 7,000-year-old things. And it's, I think, the Earth Sky Father and the Earth Mother, or the Sky Father and the Sky Mother, or some version of that. That's what these two things are. These are altars. These are like say 5 or 6 feet high, and probably 7 feet wide. These are humongous. These are not like little tiny figurines.
Yeah.
But anyways, my point is, though, you can see though that they themselves are not seeing them as sort of separate. So once again, it's a single being, is it not, with two natures? And just so you can get that, you need to understand it's more related and connected than people like to think. Like, oh, the male's greater and the woman's not. Well, they didn't really see it that way when it started. Your bigotry may see it that way.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I'll show you when it started. After 7,000, male clans take over. And you all of a sudden goes from female figurines to a shit ton of male figurines. Go ahead and show the picture. Right. This is not me guessing. This is me knowing the migration routes and then what happened. They started to have single burials, elite males, right? That's one. And before they had communal burials, they also start to have massacres, multiple evidence of massacres, cracking heads, doing that stuff, and also burials of people just thrown in jumbles. And you start to get the thinker, or these men with penises, or like this guy holding a sickle, which is controlling probably agriculture. Anyways, so just to give you an idea that males are starting to rise at 7,000.
What's interesting is I believe that the common theory is that in evolution, as well as in biological evolution, female was first, and then the male gender evolved later. And it seems
that is, everyone starts with in a sense an X. An X makes the female. So I'll show you a thing of females. Someone asked about females. This is the evolution, but these are not gods. Understand? This eventually turns into gods, but it starts. But these are sitting females. See, you have all these ones are kind of related, and I show where they're grouped. So they're cultural ideas, and they culturally spread. all these ideas. So, and I'll show you another one that's female, because someone said show the females. So I'll just real quick show another thing about females. But I want to get, so yes, female spirit things, or like the mud baby, right? Relates, I think, to, yes, the first things were female spirits, but they were not female deities.
Right.
Deities happened in the Middle East. Here's another third point I'll show you. It also shows that they migrated and the ideas spread because they're cultural related. Yeah. So the ideas start in Europe, right? All these female figurines, but then that DNA does go to Lake Baikal, and then what do you know? Well, actually, first let me do it first. So the bottom picture is the first thing. It starts in Europe, then it goes to Russia. You notice they're making a similar thing, although Russia does something different. Russia makes these long totem pole-like things.
And those are the things on the right there.
And one is male, one is female in a sense. So the ones in Europe, all female. All of a sudden, Russia makes the first male, I think. And it's a totem pole figure. So that relates to, in a sense, it got the shamanism and totemism package. And totem poles, probably. Or something that eventually turns into totem poles. Then Siberia gets it from Russia. So you have Kasinki the DNA does go to Lake Baikal, which is Malta culture, Malta Baret culture, which is 24,000 years ago. So they have all these female figures mainly, which are different things. But then they have these totem pole figures, and one looks male, possibly, and one's female. So it's, once again, kind of like the Sky Father and the Sky Mother. I think relates kind of to this. See what I'm saying? So the ideas, spirits start first. So totem poles do relate to that area. I don't want to go into totem poles. I want to show you deities. So, but believe me, it spreads from that area and even into China and stuff, into the Americas from that area, from Siberia. See, things all were Siberia and then went into other areas. But let's go to, like I said, high gods, low gods, and moralistic gods. So they're not the same. Those first high gods and stuff were not moralistic gods. They didn't tell you it was wrong to be gay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Wrong. They didn't care about that.
Yeah.
Totemism cares about that in a sense because it cares not because of some god thing. Totemism cares because it cares about the DNA staying pure and the line continuing. So because of that, that ends up becoming sexist, sort of, and you get that. So low gods are earth gods and tutelary deities, which are like protector deities. So they're kind of like the good guys in a sense. Then the high gods, which can also be female, and sky gods, and are more generally supreme deities. Very rarely do you get earth deities that are supreme deities. It's not impossible, but it generally would be like a mountain or so, like a volcano. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It has to be something beyond just the regular calm nature. Everything is, given from nature. No, and those the deities are not supreme deities generally.
Right.
Anyway, so then there's moralistic deities which come later. So moralistic deities come like about 5,000 years ago to 4,000, sometime around there. And then how do we know that, Damien? Oh, because we have a thing called science. So this there was an article done where which is in the middle bar, you see, and it shows the social complexities and it relates to different regions. And you can see Turkey gets the oldest. And also you notice that their moralistic God and their social complexity do not match. They happen at different times.
Oh, interesting.
Right. And then you see Iran's closer, meaning they got the transfer from Turkey, which is where I say paganism starts in Turkey and then goes out. Iran's super close to Turkey. And then it goes to Pakistan, which is further. But I told you, Turkey DNA, right? L is in the Middle East, which is probably Iraq or maybe even eastern Turkey. And then goes to Pakistan first, which is the Indus Valley culture, or before that, and then relates to that. So you can see Iran looks like similar to Pakistan. So, but then you go to China, They got their stuff 5,000 years ago.
Mm.
Well, when they got their stuff, it almost came as a package. And look at Egypt. Egypt is almost literally hard to tell the difference because it got its stuff almost given to it. Not exactly, so don't get crazy. We already explained Egypt. But this shows that the moralistic God and their social complexity is pretty much evolved at the same time. And you look at Italy, and it literally is the same time because it was given to them as one package. Anyways, that's just to help you understand that.
Yeah. No, you know what? I'm thinking in regards to it is, it seems to me like for a lot of more recent history that a lot of believers have been deists instead of theists, and it does seem like,
Well, I would say that they deist would be that they have no other religion. That's inaccurate. Deism would be a branch of people starting to have skepticism. Skepticism and atheism starts about 2,600 to 2,700 years ago in a big way. And yes, at that time, people started to like Socrates. No, you're wrong. It's theism first. Deism is an evolution of skepticism, or maybe rationalism.
Okay, that makes sense.
Being applied. So it happens at that time because, like, Socrates was killed, one for corrupting the youth, but one of the things that he was supposedly corrupting the youth is he was telling them, you don't need to believe in the state gods.
Right.
He probably would have still believed in deism or even pantheism, but he said those state gods that do all this wacky shit doesn't sound real. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So he's getting a removed thing. So
interesting. Okay.
Theism is first. Like I said, theism is to me with the hunter, which is the hunting cosmic hunt cult, which people can go look up. Cosmic Hunt is about 15,000 years old. They think. I actually think it's about 30,000 years old because there's evidence of bear worship and stuff that precedes it. Anyways, so the Cosmic Hunt turns into 12,000 years ago, 11,000 years ago, into the worship of the hunter, which is a god. And then that hunter then gets more evolved once they get into herding cult, because it starts in hunting cult, then it becomes herding cult, and then humans are more control thing. I think at that time is why it becomes more anthropomorphic. Then they get agriculture in a really big way, like in Çatalhöyük, where you start to see these female deities. And Çatalhöyük also was matriarchal, or something close to it, run rather than patriarchal. So agriculture relates to matriarchal kind of ideas. And that's when they take the Sky Father and they blend it with the Earth Mother. And then it goes out into, from Çatalhöyük, DNA does go to Europe and give all their ideas, and goes into Ukraine sometime around 8,000 to 7,000 years ago. And when it does, then I think that's when they get to Sky Father, Earth Mother. And that's why all these different areas, because 5,500 people from Ukraine take those ideas and go to Siberia. Those ideas go for 5,000 down to China, and go over about 5,000 over to the Americas, where they get the Sky Father and the Earth Mother over there, starting in the Tlingit and the Pacific Northwest. And then the Tlingit go down to California. Central California is where the Aztecs' original sort of languages. They go down to Southern California. People in Southern California go all the way to Peru and make the pyramid. Anyway, so all this stuff, in a sense, is related, but it's not this idea like Graham Hancock, where it's one people just go straight across.
Yeah.
That is didn't ever happen. Absolutely didn't happen.
Yeah.
What it is, like I said, it's people from Siberia go over, and people from Siberia also become Europe. They go to Russia, and then they go to Ukraine, and then from Ukraine they go to Central Europe, for Central Europe, then they go to other parts, Southern, whatever. So, but it's a like leapfrogging, boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
and it didn't go like all over the place, and like I said, it would go to this culture, and then they would take it to another culture who is different DNA. So it's not like I said, it's not one person, not even one DNA taught everybody. You see what I'm saying? Not
Yeah.
even from Siberia, not even from the Middle East. There is no such thing as the one anything. Like I said, my opinion, there is eDNA that gave influence from outside of Africa into Egypt. There is also rDNA. There is also jDNA. So it wasn't even one DNA that influenced Egypt. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's to think that is an error.
Right.
So what you've seen through this whole thing, though, is even though ideas are similar, it is not simple at all. And it was not one culture, and it was not one migration, because multiple migrations. Let me show you one picture of how many migrations sort of into the Americas, because that helps you understand it's not one and done. Here's one of my pictures for the how many migrations. This is QDNA.
I've seen this one before too.
Yeah, this is QD from Lake Baikal.
Mm-hmm.
QDNA migrations into the Americas, and every time there's different times, and they brought different things. And I say early shamanism. And then the second one I show is Earth Diver, but no paganism. And then number 3 is Earth Diver now has paganism, sky god, sky goddess. But then number 4 is Earth Diver with sky god and Earth Mother. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's evolving, but they're sort of related. Anyways, I'll show you another one. So to understand, because people, they want religion to be fucking simple, and it's an evolved product, and it's super not simple because it's had thousands of years to be complex.
So much easier to just say, I believe in the Bible, than it is to study all of this.
Well, right. Well, and I have blogs, by the way, on all this stuff that explains it in more depth, because it is complex. Yeah. And I have done a lot of shit ton of work I have at least over 500 blogs. I probably have 1,000. I don't know, but my blogs are like little books. And of course, I have links so you can go look all this stuff up, because I've used data and science to make my art. This is not like fantasy shit.
I put those in the description too. Anybody watching this now, you can go check out his blogs. Anybody watching the rewatch, you can also pause the video and look at the art here, and then go to his blog and get more in-depth information.
Right, and most of my art will have multiple little, this says REF. Those are like links, and there'll be multiple links. Some of the links are links to the actual data you're looking at on the art. And then I have some other ones that give you like extra stuff, like the languages or stuff, like extra, sometimes info that relates. And I've read shit tons, and that's why I put this together to try to show it in a group of just how complex it is and when things were happening. And if you notice, the going from Siberia to the Americas happened multiple times, and the cultures were not the same every time it happened.
Yeah.
And so it's anyone that gives you the simple, well, the white people did it, and they went and taught everybody all over the world.
Yeah.
They were seafarers. Holy shit, that's wrong.
Right.
Half the stuff, if you notice, is always by the land.
Yeah. It's not just wrong because it's radically too simple. It's also just wrong.
Well, yeah, it's wrong to the data. So
yeah.
But I'm just saying, because if you understand the data is multiply complex, and it was multiple migrations, why ideas were transferred around, and then those ideas kept evolving, to think that someone just gave a full package of ideas all at once, that doesn't fit the data.
Like they do now. Yeah.
It doesn't fit the mythology. It doesn't fit the DNA. It doesn't fit the culture or the archaeology. So, but if you were logical, like, it was so hard to watch his second. And Graham Hancock has 2 series. One is called, Ancient Apocalypse or something like that. And then the second one, Kolbek's first cut is wrong, because let me show you something real quick. Now that someone brought that up, that's wrong. I'll show you. What? No. Clovis, but just because Clovis verse is wrong doesn't make Graham Hancock right. To think that is also completely ridiculous. Clovis verse is wrong because they got better data. They were using the data from knowledge that was available. So it wasn't irrational for them to come up with it. Maybe that happened, or because they were going from, that's how you should do things. Like I said, I try to build my stuff from the data. Once in a while, I can be wrong, sometimes because we get better data. Not because, in a sense, like Graham Hancock, we're just doing wild freaking guesses off of stuff that was debunked, in 100 years ago.
And with a glaring pro-white bias.
Oh, well, yeah, exactly. Which I told you, you look at this, that's inaccurate.
Yeah.
That's not accurate to the facts.
Mm-hmm.
Where is that?
And while you're looking for that, we are a little over 3 hours now. How long were you wanting to go? Did you want to?
Well, we're almost done. I really wanted
Okay.
to do what we've done, which is kind of give just a really big overview of what happened out and in. So that, like you said, like an inoculation, so people are not bamboozled by fucking charlatans.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, once you understand this fact, I don't know how you could look at Graham Hancock and his stuff he says, like he has two series, right? Well, one of the series, he says, here it is. One of the series, he's, I think it's this one. Let me look at this one a second. One of the series, right, is America Before. And then he has another one that is where he says that one of them is Ancient Apocalypse. His second series is America Before. When I heard his America Before one, I was just like, dude, I don't know how any rational person can listen to that and not go, what the fucking hell? Because he says that, maybe my culture comes, I don't know where my culture comes from. Maybe it comes from the Americas, or I used to think it came from here, I'll show you this one. Or maybe it came from Antarctica, or maybe it came from India. First off, I wouldn't listen to someone that said shit like that. That'd be dumb. What the fuck? With me, I'm showing you this DNA in this area did this thing, and here's the archaeology. We know for sure there's archaeology of humans at Bluefish Caves in the Yukon at that little red dot at 24,000. It's not a guess. It's a fact. We do know that down in Mexico, in that cave, central Mexico, 30,000 years ago, there's evidence of humans. Graham Hancock should be able to tell you what DNA, what time, what culture he's pointing to. He's like, oh, there's an advanced culture. What's the DNA? Who were their ancestors? Where did they come from, Graham Hancock? I mean, to me, it's just it's like a child's version of trying to figure out the world, acting as if we don't have DNA and we don't fucking know things.
So like a creationist.
Oh, totally. But they just let's give the guessing of the world. Like, yeah, that's not how I like to do things.
If something goes against my religion, just don't believe it. Doubt it,
Right. Here, I'll give you another one that shows the two branches of male that do go into the Americas. And it's both come from the same almost area. It's from the east side and the west side of Lake Baikal. Go ahead and share the picture.
Oh, is that this one that's currently on here?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah, sorry. I thought that was the same.
We have cDNA, which we know came in from 6,000 to 8,000. See what I'm saying? Graham Hancock, we don't have to guess. So this, I don't know, and could be here, maybe there. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
What more do we need to debunk, right? And so I'm showing you all this stuff And let me, right. So we know qDNA came from there and it went in. I showed it was actually multiple migrations, but then cDNA also came in and has an effect, right? Yeah. So we know that, guess what? If they're both around Lake Baikal and Lake Baikal has a sky deity and a earth mother, the fact that they go over to the Americas, not a shocker. And we don't have to guess since we know that's who went over there. And guess what? People do take their brains and culture with them. Right? Okay. So, and then we also do know that Graham Hancock also admitted he doesn't have evidence.
Right.
That's his own words. And I'm going to show you the thing that here's my art of him saying that because I thought it was hilarious. Go ahead and show that.
Okay.
See, I call it my favorite Graham Hancock quote. He goes, in what archaeologists have studied, like I try to do, not as an archaeologist, but understand what they found and put it in order. He goes, yes, we can say there is what? No evidence of an advanced civilization. Thank you, Graham Hancock. I finally agree with you.
So he's just undermining everything he says any other time he opens his mouth when he says this here.
Thank you. You do have a brain. You got it. That's it.
It's hilarious.
Right? Is that, I mean, what more do you need to say? Should I listen to Graham Hancock? I don't know. He says you shouldn't. So
right. Oh my God. Wow. That's rough.
Right, because did I make a bunch of claims without evidence? I literally show you shit tons of evidence.
Oh my God, so much.
Explain the migrations, explain how, explain who, explain when, and I even have more than this. I have way more than this. But that's what I'm saying. I have evidence on top of evidence, and then I have more evidence of that evidence. And he says flat out, there is no evidence for his ideas. So please don't listen to him. Even he says that there's no evidence for his ideas. Why would you? And then argue. Why would you argue that Graham Hancock is right and Damien is wrong? Here's the thing. The one main supporter of Grant, there's two really. It's Jimmy Corsetti and Bright Insight, which there's no insight and he's not bright. But at least his ideas are not. Because he says shit, you're like, oh, fuck, dude, really? In fact, he calls Bright Insight, Jimmy Corsetti, calls himself a conspiracy theorist. I'm like,
oh, wow.
You're a nonsense pusher. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
And the other
when
one,
somebody's calling themselves a conspiracy theorist, I'm usually like,
yeah. And the other person, I'm not trying to make these other people famous either. Or am I trying to make Graham Hancock famous? I'm just trying to inoculate you. When you hear these people talk, they push absolute, like he says, no evidence, nonsense.
Yeah.
So Jimmy Corsetti with Bright Insight, don't listen to nothing he says. Don't listen to nothing Graham Hancock says. These are fools. And anytime even if they have a fact, it's like saying, well, in the Bible, there are facts. Well, there's also facts in a Superman comic. And we don't need to use that to understand reality. Thank you very much. So the other person is Dan Richards. Like I said, I'm not trying to make these people famous, but I'm trying to inoculate you. Hear these people talk, you're done. Dan Richard with what's called de-debunking. He tries to attack archaeologists and people supposedly like me, right? Although, interesting enough, he said he doesn't want to try to debunk me. And I go, that's because you can't.
Yeah. Because it's like our friend Joshua Batten that we met the other day. Right. He was trying to say, I can't get this stuff published. It's like, yeah, no wonder, my guy.
Right, and so and I'm going to publish my book called the Tree of Lies. Exposing the evolution of religion and removing the rationale of faith. And I'll show you that real quick too, just for why not?
Yeah, we should definitely plug some of your stuff during this because
my book's
you're doing this completely free, just out of the goodness of your heart. To inoculate people against nonsense, we'll absolutely plug some of your stuff.
Right. Sure. Yeah. So all my blogs, all my videos, and I have 3-hour videos like this where I explain all these little simple ideas one by one almost, and even mythology, trying to break it all down and explain it to you. This is going to be my book, The Tree of Lies and Its Hidden Roots, exposing the evolution of religion and removing the rationale of faith. And then I show that I think there's the stem of all of this is fear.
Yeah.
It's fear that you're alone. It's fear that you can't control things, because religion tells you you are in control of the world. Animism does. If you just get right with the spirits, everything is okay. Totemism, if you just have the right clan and you follow the rules and you have sex with you should and eat the food you should and do things a certain way and follow the hierarchy, everything will be okay.
Yes.
And then shamanism, if you follow the right spirits and you get the shaman to get rid of the evil spirits and the sicknesses, everything will be okay. The world's control, right? Everything.
Yeah.
If the shaman prays for your good hunt, then you'll get stuff. If he prays for no rain or safe seas, you have safe seas. Paganism is very dissimilar. If you pray to the right God and you do the right things that God wants, then you will be, in a sense, blessed and benefited. It's all a group of nonsense that's related. And so that's why I have a picture of tree on my thing with all kinds of religion in the branches.
Yeah. I think for sure fear is a big part of it. It's rooted in fear of dying and fear of not existing, not being around.
Right. Fear of not being
just
with other
human
people,
behavior too. It's like we think things are correlated. That's why there's like rituals that people do. They count their toothbrushes every day. They touch their doorknob 3 times before they walk outside. And
they wore a certain sock and they hit a good baseball to have to wear those socks.
Yeah.
Yes, but to me, like I said, the fear is some part of control. The religion gives us this false sense of control, because people go, well, without a God, what do you do? Yeah, without a master, who will I worship?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I can have self-mastery. I don't know. That sounds better. I always think of it this way. If a God doesn't want me to have my self-mastery, then the God is anti-me, against me. Any God that would wish my servitude over my freedom is not worth worshiping anyways, to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways,
did you want to I almost think that's a great point to end on for now. We can pick this up and keep talking about it more. I know you still have like 20 more slides we could go over.
Oh yeah.
Maybe we'll plan a time to talk more about it, but do we want to sum up a little bit before we close out?
Well, like I said, I was trying to show you that everyone's connected, right? We showed from the beginning, right? Not only is religion connected, all humanity's connected. Racism is absolutely nonsense. And certainly it's untrue that one people gave everybody ideas. Everyone was mixing ideas. So no, that's not what happened. And so to have this also, let's say too, if you think that any religion is true, you really can't hate all the religions, since I already showed you they're really kind of all related to similar ideas. So either they're all true or they're all untrue. I, of course, think they're all untrue. They're just cultural products. They're just things that help people navigate the world and make them feel comfortable, like they understand. Because see, like the creation myths, they try to explain science before science. They try to tell you, hey, this is how everything works, because then you feel better thinking you know how everything works. You know, the one thing we know, religion's not science. Science, like Damien, when he's wrong, will fucking change. Religion is resistant.
Yes.
That reminds me too, I'll show you another thing real quick to end it on, as you said.
For sure.
And it relates to what I just said, sort of, this is my concept in a sense of religion, that I think it started in wonder. I don't think it started with this hateful bullshit, because animism is pretty like non-existent. It's like spiritual non-religious. Hey man, let's just all get along. They don't go out and do wars and have freaking suicide bombings.
Yeah.
But to me, religion began in wonder and it ended with closed-mindedness. How odd it is that the earliest echo of religion, they most likely were at some point honestly trying to understand the world around them in a deep time before the understanding like science. Since the earliest echoes of science, this old desire of unbiased honesty of the truth in belief to understand the world came into conflict with religious beliefs, removed from reality, and then a battle for what people believe or why truly began.
Yes. Yes, it's like at first they were trying to figure out if they were wrong, and now they're doing the exact opposite. They're trying to not figure out that they are wrong.
Yeah, they're wrong.
Yeah.
You need, I mean, so I really realized that to me, when science really started, which is about 5,500 or maybe 6,000, science kind of started.
Yeah.
And from the beginning, it was like a rolling ball. The more they learned science, the more religion kind of didn't make sense. And that's why when like the Greeks and the philosophy, which is where science really kind of germinates from, because we all have PhD, you know, philosophy of whatever.
Yeah.
So my point though is they started, like I said, 2,500, which I have a meme about that too, about atheism and the rise of thinking, which I'm almost done. But I think it's good too, because it shows that what happened with like you said, when they got deism, when they started questioning. Here's early atheism. So it's around 2,570 to 2,270 years ago, where in a sense the confirmation of atheistic doubt as well as atheistic, or could be even agnostic or ignostic thinking, mainly by Greek philosophers. But that's the same time, those same people were also trying to understand science, the real world. They're trying to understand truth, right? Trying to understand reason. And so when you do all that, guess what you start realizing? Religion's kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
So
and you know what? I think it's like it's tied to power. When we didn't have knowledge, religion was an easy path to power.
Yeah.
Now that we're starting to develop knowledge, knowledge is the way better path to power because it can actually be used.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. So I think it's a good place to stop. And I really enjoyed the video. I think it's pretty great. So like I said,
thank you so much.
We're all connected. Religion's just a cultural product of that migration out of Africa. And all the other stuff that came back to was still just part of migrations and part of culture. Religion is not special in any way. I don't need to doubt if a God is real and be agnostic, because I know it's just cultural product. You're asking me, is Superman real? No. And I don't even have to be agnostic about it, right? Are you agnostic? A tooth fairy is real? No. Because you understand it's a freaking made up shit. Newsflash, so is God.
This is what my final point that I'll take away before we say goodbye and close things out. The kind of love you feel for your mother, for your father, for your brother, for your sister, that should be the kind of love you have for every human being on this planet, because really we are all related. We're all from that. And you absolutely don't need religion to have that. It is in you as a human.
Right. Because we're social, emotional beings. I always tell people think that we're logical, like, oh, I'm rational. A rational person grasps that actually we're emotional beings that only sometimes use reason. No, because see, this is what people think. People think that we're rational beings and only sometimes go to the amusement park of emotions, when it's completely backwards. We live in the amusement park of emotions and only sometimes are rational.
That's a great point. We'll close it out on that. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Damien, for doing all this amazing work and sharing your knowledge with us today. I had a great time. I learned a bunch. I look forward to doing it again. Thank you to everyone in the audience watching live. Thank you to everybody rewatching. Go subscribe to Damien's channel. Go to his blog and check out his incredible art and arrays of information. Go out onto the street in your local town and scream, go subscribe to Scientific Origins on YouTube. Check out his stuff with Damien and Marie AtHope. It's brilliant. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Damien. Sorry, you want to say anything?
No, I was all right. I appreciate everybody, listening to, and this is not beyond you. I learned all this by myself. I was not taught in college this stuff. I decided to learn it. Reason is available to, I believe in everyone's ability to reason. It's hard, like I said, because we have to get past that we live in the emotional, roller coasters of emotions. But that doesn't mean we're past the ability to reason.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Damien. I'm going to end the stream now. Have a great one.